In this video, we're going to build a stunning Apple product store with the latest React 19 and Tailwind CSS 4. Hey everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel, Code and Create. My name is George and I run this channel together with my friend Lasha. We create premium quality tutorials for free, making advanced web development accessible to everyone. In this project, we'll be building an elegant Apple product showcase featuring seamless page transitions, dynamic content rendering, and interactive UI. We'll break everything down step by step, so whether you're a beginner or an experienced developer, you'll be able to follow along and build this project from scratch. For this project, we're going to use the latest cutting-edge technologies, React 19 that brings improved performance and features, but what makes this build even more exciting is Tailwind CSS 4, which was just released. This version of Tailwind introduces some major changes, including the removal of the configuration file by default, built-in CSS variables, and better performance optimizations. It's brand new, super powerful, and perfect for building a sleek, modern UI effortlessly. We have created 2 comprehensive videos covering everything you need to know about this major update. If you're interested in learning more about Tailwind CSS 4 and staying up to date with the latest improvements, I highly recommend checking out these videos. You can find both links in the description below. Now that we've introduced the latest technologies we are using, let's take a detailed look at the project itself, its features, functionalities, and how it adapts to different screen sizes. This will give you a clear idea of what we're building and why it's such an exciting project to work on. This project is designed to replicate a modern and sleek Apple product store where users can browse different product categories, view product details, and navigate through a smooth and interactive UI. We've structured the layout into multiple sections, each dedicated to a different product category. Each section is built with dynamic content rendering, ensuring that new products or updates can be added easily without modifying the core layout. One of the highlights of this project is the navigation between different product sections. Instead of simple static page switching, we've implemented smooth transition effects. The project includes a zooming functionality that allows users to expand the main frame for a better view of the content. On larger screens, users can click the zoom-in button to enter an expanded mode, making the interface more immersive. Additionally, we have an X-Close button that serves as a quick way to return to the home page from any section. When navigating through different product pages, clicking the X button instantly resets the view, bringing the user back to the main screen. The button is visually adjusted based on the current page. It appears interactive with a pointer cursor and bold color when active, and is dimmed with a disabled cursor when already on the home screen, ensuring a clear user experience. When navigating between pages, the transition effect ensures that the page slides in and out smoothly, creating a more dynamic and professional user experience. During the transition, a background image remains visible. The navigation is fully functional both via the navbar and by clicking on sections within the home page, making the browsing experience intuitive. The navigation bar is fixed on the side and allows users to switch between product sections. The active navigation item is highlighted, visually indicating the current section. Next to the navigation items, we have folder icons which highlight whether the navigation item is active or not by opening and closing the folder. On the home page, users are welcomed with a visually appealing layout featuring 4 main sections: iPhones, MacBooks, Apple Watches, and iMacs. Each section includes a heading and a corresponding high-quality image, giving a quick preview of the different product categories. Clicking on any section seamlessly navigates the user to the corresponding page. On the iPhones page, users can explore different iPhone models, each displayed with a high-quality image, name, brief description, and price. The layout ensures a clean and structured presentation, making it easy to compare models at a glance. On the MacBook page, users can switch between M2 and M3 chip models. Each MacBook model features a color selection option, allowing users to preview different color variations dynamically. On the Apple Watch page, we've added a hover effect that allows users to view different angles of each watch. When hovering over a watch guard, the image smoothly transitions between different views, showcasing the design from multiple perspectives. On the iMac page, users can switch between multiple color variations dynamically. Clicking on a color button updates the displayed iMac model, showcasing different angles and providing a clear preview of each available option. A major focus of this project is responsiveness. From the very beginning, we will add Tailwind CSS responsive utilities to make sure the layout adapts perfectly to different screen sizes. We will test the project across various screen resolutions, including 6 different desktop screens, 2 tablet screen sizes, and 3 different mobile screen sizes. On medium screens like tablets, we will disable zooming functionality to prevent layout distortion, and the zoom-in icon will be hidden to avoid unnecessary UI elements. On smaller screens, the sidebar navigation will be hidden by default and toggled using a Hamburger menu button. The menu smoothly slides in and out, providing a clean navigation method. The menu icon transforms into an X when open, making it clear how to close the menu. Some elements like extra product models are hidden on mobile to keep the interface clean. With all the functionalities, interactive features, and smooth transitions in place, we will have a fully working Apple Product Store UI. This project is designed to be both visually stunning and highly interactive, making it feel like a real-world Apple product showcase. Now that we've seen the full preview of our project in action, it's time to dive into the development process and build everything step by step from scratch. So let's get started. I have created a new folder on my desktop where I will be setting up our project. Let's go ahead and open it in VS Code. Once we have the project open in VS Code, the first thing we need is a terminal. If you don't see the terminal at the bottom, you can open it manually by going to View and then Terminal. Or simply, you can press Ctrl plus backtick on Windows or CMD on Mac OS. Before we proceed, let's make sure that Node.js is installed on your machine. This is important because we will use npm, Node Package Manager, to install dependencies and manage the project. To check if you have Node.js installed, you need to run node-v. If you see a version number, that means Node.js is installed, and if not, you need to install it from its official website. Now that we have Node.js ready, we will set up the project using Vite. Vite is a modern front-end build tool that is faster and more efficient compared to the traditional bundlers like Webpack. It is really a great choice for React projects. You can learn more about Vite on their official website. Now let's go ahead and create our React project using Vite. For that we have to run the following command: npm create Vite add latest. Then we need the name of the project. It's going to be Apple Products Store. Next we need -- template and React. Once you run this command, Vite will ask you to select the framework. Let's choose React. Then it will ask you to select the programming language. I'm going to choose JavaScript. After the project is generated, we need to navigate into our new project folder. For that we have to run cd apple products. Actually, we need here -store. So before we continue, let's quickly mention that we are using the latest version of Tailwind CSS version 4, which was released recently. If you go to the Tailwind CSS official website, under the installation section, you will see different ways to install Tailwind. Since we're using Vite, we will install it specifically for a Vite project. Now, an important note here. We have released 2 comprehensive videos about Tailwind CSS 4, where we cover all the new features, installation methods, and even how to upgrade from Tailwind 3 to Tailwind 4. If you're interested, make sure to check them out. To install Tailwind, let's go ahead and copy the command from here and run it in the terminal. Once it's done, we need to configure Tailwind CSS. In Tailwind CSS version 4, the Tailwind config file is no longer generated by default. Instead, we need to configure Tailwind inside our Vite config file. Let's go back to Tailwind website and copy this import statement. We need to paste this import statement here. Next, inside the plugins array, we need to add Tailwind CSS right next to React. Alright, next let's go back to Tailwind website again. I'm going to copy this import statement, go back to the VS Code, open index.css file. I'm going to clear out here everything and paste the import statement here. A quick note here, in previous versions of Tailwind, we needed to include 3 directives: Tailwind base, Tailwind components, and Tailwind utilities. But in Tailwind 4, these are no longer required. Instead, we only need this single import statement. Before we move on, let's go ahead and install the Tailwind CSS IntelliSense extension in VS Code. It provides autocomplete suggestions for Tailwind classes and makes it easier and faster to write Tailwind code without constantly referring to documentation. To install it, we have to go to the extensions manager and search for Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. I have already installed this extension, so let's go ahead and click install. So regarding this extension, there is a small issue. In order to use this extension, we still need to have a Tailwind config file. Since Tailwind CSS 4 is still very new, I believe that in the future we won't need this extra config file for IntelliSense to work, but for now we must have it even if it's empty. So let's go ahead and manually create this file. We need here tailwind.config.js and leave it empty. Alright, now let's run our project and make sure everything is working. I'm going to run the following command: npm run dev. This will start the Vite development server and generate a local URL, localhost 5174. To open it, hold Alt on Windows or Option on Mac and click the link. If everything is set up correctly, we should now see the default React welcome screen in the browser. I'm going to close those tabs and arrange our editor and browser side by side so we can easily switch between them as we start building the project. Before we start coding, we need to clean up unnecessary files and folders. So let's go ahead and delete assets folder. Then I'm going to delete this icon here. We don't need app.css file as well. Next, open index.html file, get rid of this fab icon and change the title of the project. We need Apple Products Store. Then open app.jsx file. I'm going to clear it out and create a new functional component using shortcut RAFCE. If you have the ES7 React Redux snippets extension installed, it will automatically generate a React functional component. If you don't have this extension, you can install it from the extension manager. You can search for ES7 React Redux snippets. I have already installed this extension, and if you don't have it, let's go ahead and install it. Alright. Next, we need to bring in the product images. I have already prepared the images. So I will simply drag and drop the entire images folder in the public folder. So as you can see, we have all the images that we need for our project. Also, let's go ahead and bring in some essential resources for our project. First, we need to add a Google font that we will use throughout our project. Let's go ahead and search for Google Fonts. Go to the website and search for font called Nunito. We need to click here, then click Get Fonts. Then we need Get Embed Codes, and we have to copy these links. Let's go back to the VS Code, open index.html file, and paste the links inside the head element. Next, I'm going to open the index.css file, and here I'm going to select every element using an asterisk, then change the font family. It's going to be Nunito sans serif. This ensures that our project will use the Nunito font from Google Fonts. Now we have to add icons to our project using Box Icons, a popular icon library. Let's go ahead and search for Box Icons. This is the official website of Box Icons library. We have to go to Usage, then import the CSS, and we have to grab this CDN link. Let's open index.html file and paste the link inside the head element. Alright, so that's it. Our project setup is complete. Now we are all set to start building the Apple Product Store using React 19 and Tailwind CSS 4. Let's start with the app.jsx file. So right now we have here a single div element with the text app. I'm going to get rid of this text, and I'm going to add some classes to the wrapper div elements. So we need here width full, which means that width is going to be equal to 100%. The height is going to be screen, 100 viewport height. Also, I'm going to use grid and then place items center to center the contents of this wrapper div element. Inside here, I'm going to open another div element, and I'm going to add here some classes. I'm going to define width, and in this case, I'm going to use an arbitrary value. So the width is going to be 70 viewport width. Then I'm going to define height, and it's going to be 85 viewport height. Next, we need minimum width, and it's going to be again 70 viewport width. Then we need minimum height. Let's make it 85 viewport height. After that, I'm going to define max width, which is going to be 90 viewport width. And finally, we need max height, and it's going to be 90 viewport height. Alright, so these classes are used to control the size of the wrapper div element. These classes set the initial width and height to 70% of the viewport width and 85% of the viewport height, ensuring that the container scales relative to the screen size. Next, we have minimum width and minimum height. They ensure that the container never becomes smaller than these dimensions, maintaining a consistent minimum size. After that, we used max width and max height. They prevent the container from growing too large, even on very large screens, by capping its maximum width and height to 90% of the viewport. So this combination provides a responsive, flexible layout that adapts to different screen sizes while maintaining a well-proportioned design. Now, I'm going to add a couple of more classes here. We need border, then border, gray, 300. Next we need to make it rounded, 2XL, and finally we have resize. The resize class in Tailwind CSS allows an element to be resized by the user. By default, it enables both horizontal and vertical resizing. As you can see, we have here resize class and the value is both. So it means again, resize enables both horizontal and vertical resizing, similar to this CSS property. Alright, so we can go to the browser. As you can see, we have here the frame. Right now we don't have any resizing functionality here because we need to add an overflow to the element. So let's add here overflow, auto. Now let's go to the browser. As you can see, now we have the resizing functionality. We can resize the element in both directions, I mean horizontally and vertically. Alright, so resizing manually every time might not be the most convenient option. That's why before we dive into adding any content, I'm going to implement a super handy zooming functionality. This will allow us to quickly zoom in and out of the frame with just a click. If we look at the final project, you'll see here we have a button which allows us to zoom in and zoom out the frame. Alright, so to implement the zooming functionality, we will need a new component dedicated specifically to our controls. So let's go ahead and create a new folder in the src folder. It's going to be components. Then inside here, I'm going to create a new file, which is going to be controls.jsx. So this will be our controls component where we'll add the buttons and logic for zooming in and out. Now inside here, create a functional React component using again the RAFC shortcut. So we have our component skeleton ready. Next, let's head back to our app.jsx file. Here we will need to import our newly created controls component. At the top of the file, we need import controls from components controls. Once it's imported, we will nest the controls component inside the div where our frame is being rendered. So inside here, we need controls. Actually, you might be wondering where I get those auto completions, and it is GitHub Copilot and AI integrated into the VS Code. Okay, let's check the browser to make sure our controls component is rendering correctly. It's showing up, which means everything is set up properly. Now let's jump back into our controls.jsx file and start adding some JSX for the zoom controls. I'm going to get rid of this text from here. Then I'm going to add a button inside the div elements. Let's add to the button some classes. So we need here text 2XL, then text pink 400, and also I'm going to make the cursor pointer. Then inside here, I'm going to add iElements from the box icons library. Let's add a couple of classes. BX, BXS, zoom in. Actually, we need here zoom in. I'm going to duplicate these button elements. As you remember, we had here two buttons, the zoom in button and also this X closing button here. So I'm going to modify this code slightly. Let's get rid of cursor pointer. And also, instead of those classes, we need here BX, then BX, X, circle. Let's take a quick look at the browser. As you can see, our controls are now visible on the screen, which is a great start. But currently, they're just sitting there without any proper positioning. We need to make sure these controls are placed exactly where we want them. So let's go ahead and add to the div elements some classes. We need absolute, position absolute. Then in order to position elements according to the parent element, which in our case is frame, we have to add position relative to the frame. Let's go back to the controls component. I'm going to define top position. It's going to be 3. Then we have right position. It's going to be 3 as well. And then we need space X, but in our case, we need space X2. All right, let's check the browser again. And perfect. Our controls are now positioned exactly where we want them, nicely placed in the top right corner of the frame. Now that our controls are in place, it's time to implement the zooming functionality for our frame. This will allow users to zoom in and out with a simple click, making our project more dynamic and interactive. Let's go back to the VS Code. So we will start by creating a state variable that will track whether the frame is zoomed in or out. In our app.jsx file, we need to define our state variable using useState. So here I'm going to add frame zoom. Then we need set frame zoom. Let's get rid of React. As for the value, it's going to be false. And we have to import useStateHook from React. So here, frame zoom is our state variable and set frame zoom is the function we will use to update its value. We initialize it with false, meaning the frame will start in its default non-zoomed state. This state will toggle between true and false to indicate whether the frame is zoomed in or out. Now, let's create a function that will handle the zooming logic. Right after the state variable, I'm going to create function, let's call it toggle zoom. And now, as the compiler suggests, we need set frame zoom with the value not frame zoom. So this toggle zoom function is quite straightforward. It calls set frame zoom and sets the value to the opposite of what it currently is. If frame zoom is false, it becomes true, and vice versa. This toggling mechanism is essential for our zoom functionality because it ensures that every click switches between zooming in and zooming out. Now, with our state and function ready, we need to pass them as props to the controls component. So inside here, we need toggle zoom, which will be equal to toggle zoom. And then we need frame zoom equal to frame zoom. So here we pass toggle zoom and frame zoom as props, making them accessible inside the controls component. Let's head over to controls.jsx file and extract these props. In the function, we have to pass toggle zoom and then frame zoom. Alright, so now inside the controls component, we need to add an onClick event handler to our zoom button. This handler will call the toggle zoom function whenever the button is clicked. So here we need to add onClick event handler and we have to call toggle zoom function. Additionally, we want our icon to reflect the current state of the frame. When zoomed out, it should show a zoom in icon, and when zoomed in, it should show a zoom out icon. To achieve this, we will modify the class name of the icon dynamically based on the frame zoom state. So I'm going to cut these classes from here. We can get rid of the quotes. We need curly braces, and we have to pass here frame zoom followed by a ternary operator. So if this is true, we need bx zoom out, and if it is false, then we need bx zoom in. So this line uses a conditional operator to check the state. If frame zoom is true, it applies the bx zoom out icon class. Otherwise, it applies the bx zoom in class. This means that every time we click the button, not only does the frame state change, but the icon updates accordingly to reflect the current zoom state. Now, if we check the browser, we can see that clicking the zoom button toggles the icon perfectly, but we still need to implement the actual zoom functionality. Back in app.jsx file, let's modify the class list of our frame container. We have to update the class name of the frame like this. So I'm going to cut the entire class. Then we need to open curly braces. Next we need template literals, followed by $, and the curly braces. We have to pass here frame zoom, followed by an operator. And now we have to add the following classes. We need min width to be 97 viewport width, and min height 97 viewport height. And after that, I'm going to pass the class name. The final thing that I'm going to add here is transition all, and the duration is going to be 100. So here we added a conditional check using template literals. When frame zoom is true, we apply minimum width 97 viewport width and minimum height 97 viewport height, which enlarges the frame to cover almost the entire viewport. Otherwise, the frame retains its default size. We have also added transition all and duration 100 for a smooth zoom transition. Now, if we check the browser, we can see that zoom functionality is in action. Clicking the button not only toggles the icon, but also smoothly zooms the frame in and out. Now that we have our frame and control set up, it's time to focus on building the Navbar. The Navbar will serve as the main navigation area of our project. Let's take a look at the original project. So the Navbar consists of a heading at the top displaying the project title, navigation items in the middle that allow users to switch between different product categories, and social media icons neatly arranged at the bottom. Now let's begin creating the Navbar component inside the components folder. I'm going to call the file navbar.jsx. Then inside here I'm going to create new React component using RAFCE shortcut. Next, let's head over to app.jsx file and import newly created Navbar component. I'm going to duplicate this line of code and change the name of the component. We need Navbar. Next, let's nest the Navbar component inside the main wrapper div, placing it above the controls component. So we need here Navbar. Let's check the browser. You will see that the Navbar component is rendered, but it's currently empty. Let's fix that by adding content step by step. I'm going to add the following classes to the wrapper development. Let's add here class name. So first of all, we need age full, height 100%. Next, I'm going to define the background color. Let's use here an arbitrary value. It's going to be F8, F8, F8. Then I'm going to use display flex, followed by flex column class. We need to align flex items vertically in a column. Next, I'm going to use justify between, and then define padding top equal to 5, and then we need padding left. It's going to be 6. So, using these classes, we set the Navbar to full height, apply the light gray background color, also organize items vertically using flexbox, and ensure appropriate padding. Next, we need to define the width of the Navbar wrapper. In Tailwind CSS, we can use responsive width utilities to ensure our layout adapts seamlessly across different screen sizes. So I'm going to add here the following classes. We need 2XL, then width equal to 80, and then we need XL breakpoint, and the width is going to be 52. So these classes ensure that the Navbar will have a width of 80 arbitrary units equal to 320 pixels on extra large screens. The screen sizes with a minimum width of 1536 pixels. And then we have XL with 52, 52 units. It equals to 208 pixels on large screens, which start from 1280 pixels. To ensure our Navbar looks great even on smaller screen sizes, I will also add here width 44. It gives us width of 44 units, which is equal to 176 pixels for devices below 640 pixels. Now let's go to the browser. So as you can see, we have here Navbar with light gray background. Now if we start shrinking the window, we can see that the Navbar's width adjusts dynamically based on the screen size. On extra large screen sizes, it maintains wider layout, but as we reduce the window size to large screens, the Navbar smoothly resizes to a narrower width, proving that our responsive classes are working perfectly. In general, we have two options when it comes to making the project responsive. We can either build the project first and add responsiveness at the end, or we can make the project responsive step by step as we build each section. I prefer this second option because it allows us to constantly check and adjust the design for different screen sizes throughout the process. This approach is especially helpful because some students might be working on smaller screens, and since we are building this project on an extra large screen size by default, the project might not look good on their devices if we don't address responsiveness along the way. By taking this step-by-step approach, we ensure that our project looks great on all screen sizes, and by the time we finish, it's already optimized for various devices, leaving only minor adjustments like adding a hamburger menu for mobile screens at the end. Alright, with our wrapper styled, let's add more content. We need a link element for our heading. I'm going to get rid of this text from here, then open link element with the classes to Excel, text to Excel. Then we need Excel breakpoint, and actually we need here text Excel. Next I'm going to add here font light, then text red 600. Also we need margin at the bottom equal to 14, and then to make some space between the letters, let's use tracking wider. As for the content, I'm going to add here Apple products. Actually, I forgot here padding bottom, we need 14, and then I need MD breakpoint, padding bottom 0. Now let's go to the browser. So as you can see, we have here, nice and cool, heading of the Navbar. Alright, now for the navigation items, I've prepared a data file to store all the necessary data for our project. Instead of hard coding data directly into our components, we'll create a new data folder in src folder and add an index.js file. This is a clean and organized approach, keeping our data separate and manageable. Now, let's go ahead and create new folder here. Call it data. And inside here, I'm going to create new file, index.js. Now let's open the text file and grab the data from here. Let's copy those arrays, paste them here. So here you can find the nav items array. The nav items array contains objects representing each navigation item. Each object includes a label for the item name, an icon for its default state, an active icon to display when the item is active, and an inactive icon for when it's inactive. This structure makes it easy to dynamically render the items and toggle their status. We also have data for other components, which we will explore as we build those components later. Now, let's go to the navbar.jsx file. Actually, let's save this file here. Then, here I'm going to import nav items array. We need import nav items from data index. Now, after link element, I'm going to create new div elements. And I'm going to add here classes. We need flex. And then I'm going to add here flex column. We change the direction of the flex layout. And then we need flex grow. Actually, flex grow class is essential here. It allows the navigation items to take up any available space within the column layout, ensuring that our items are evenly spaced and aligned. Next, we need to create a navigation item. So inside here, I'm going to create link element with the classes Excel width equal to 36. Then we need LG width equal to 32. And then I'm going to add here width equal to 30. Next we need flex. Then we need items center. Also we need justify between. Then I'm going to define margin vertically. Let's make it 3.5. Also we need text to be left, and then we need cursor pointer. Alright, so inside here I'm going to open iElement with the classes bx bx home alt 2. Then we need text XL, and then change the color of the text, make it pink for 100. After I element, we need to create span. Let's add here classes text SM. Then we need text gray 500. Then we need margin right auto. Actually, we need here dots. Then margin right auto. Also, I'm going to define MX margin on the left and right sides equal to 2.5. Then finally, I'm going to add here tracking wider. Okay, so actually we are missing here dots, and I hope all the classes are correct. We are missing here dot as well. All right, so I think all the rest of the classes are correct. Now, after span elements, I'm going to add again I elements with the classes text LG. Then we need text yellow 400, and then the class is going to be bxs folder. All right, so I think that's it about the navigation item. Let's go to the browser. Well, we are missing here the text. We need here home. Okay, so here we have the first navigation item manually added, but of course we need to display all the nav items from our nav items array. Instead of manually writing each one, we will leverage the power of JavaScript's map method to dynamically generate all the navigation items. This is a much cleaner and more efficient approach, ensuring that our code stays scalable and maintainable. With this method, if we need to add, remove, or modify any nav items in the future, all we have to do is update the nav items array in our data file, and the changes will automatically reflect in our navbar without any further modifications to the component itself. So here is how we will do it step by step. Let's go back to the navbar.jsx file. As I said, we will use map method, which allows us to iterate over each item in the nav items array and return a new array of JSX elements. In our case, we will map through each navigation items object and generate a link element dynamically for each one. So I'm going to open curly braces. Then we need nav items. Actually, the Copilot is suggesting the code, which is correct, so I'm going to use it. Then we need here parenthesis. Alright, so here each item represents one object from the nav items array, and index represents the current index of the item we are processing. Essentially, this loop will run once for every object in the array, generating a new link element. Now I'm going to cut this link element from here and paste it here. We need to add key with index. This helps React efficiently update and render components by identifying which items have changed, been added, or been removed. Next, I'm going to modify the class name of this I element. So as you can see, we have here bx home alt2 class. If we go to the index.js file, we'll find here that each object has icon property with the corresponding class name. So I'm going to get rid of this class at all. Then I'm going to cut those class names, get rid of quotes, and instead of quotes, I'm going to open curly braces and insert here template literals. Then we need $, followed by item.icon, and I'm going to paste back the classes. So here we dynamically assign the icon class using the item.icon value from our nav items array. I mean this property here. We wrap it in backticks to create a template literal, and we interpolate the item.icon value. This means that for each navigation item, the appropriate icon class from the array will be applied dynamically. Next, I'm going to get rid of this hard-coded home text, and instead of that, I'm going to insert here curly braces item.label. I mean this label here. As you can see, each object has label property with the corresponding values. Alright, so now we can check the browser. So as you can see, we have here 5 different navigation items with corresponding icons, and also on the right side of each navigation item we have a folder icon. Now let's go ahead and implement the dynamic behavior for our folder icons in the Navbar. Currently all folder icons are closed regardless of which navigation item is selected. What we want to achieve is this: when a user clicks on a navigation item, the corresponding folder icon should switch from a closed state to an open state, giving visual feedback that the section is active. To achieve this, we will use React State Management. First, let's head over to app.jsx file and create new state variable. Let's add here new variable. I'm going to call it active page. So as you can see, the copilot suggests the updater function set active page, then use state hook. Instead of home, we need here 0. Next, we need a function to handle the navigation click events. This function will receive the index of the clicked item and update the active page state. So down below, I'm going to create a new function. Let's call it handle navclick. It should be equal to an arrow function. I'm going to insert here page index. And inside here, we need to update state using set active page updater function. And we need to pass here page index. Now, let's go ahead and pass this state and the handler function as props to the Navbar component. So here we need active page equal to active page. And then we need handle navclick equal to handle navclick. So passing these props here, we'll be able to access the current active page and use it to dynamically update the UI based on which navigation item is selected. And also we will be able to call handle navclick function whenever a navigation item is clicked, updating the active page state in the app component accordingly. Now let's go to the navbar.jsx file and destructure these props at the top. So here we need active page and then handle navclick. Actually, we need here handle with E. Now we will add an onClick event handler to each navigation item inside the map function to trigger the handle navclick function with the correct index. So here we need to add onClick event handler, and then we need this function here, handle navclick with index. Alright, finally we need to modify the class of the folder icon so that it dynamically switches between the active and inactive icons based on the active page state. If we go to the index.js file, you will find here that each object in the nav items array has two properties: active icon, the folder icon which is open, and inactive icon, the folder icon that is closed. Now let's go back to the navbar.jsx file and modify this class name here. I'm going to get rid of this class, then I'm going to cut. Actually, let's leave it here, just change the quotes with curly braces, and then inside here we need template literals. Now right after those classes, I'm going to add $sign with curly braces, and we need here a condition: active page equal to index. If this is true, then we need item dot active icon, and if this condition is false, then we need item dot inactive icon. So this modification uses a JavaScript ternary operator inside a template literal to dynamically set the correct icon class based on the active page. It checks if the current active page matches the index of the navigation item being rendered. If they match, meaning this item is active, it applies the active class icon, which is the open folder icon. If they don't match, it applies the inactive icon class, which is the closed folder icon. This ensures that when a navigation item is clicked, the active page state changes and the clicked item displays the open folder icon, while all others remain closed. Now let's go ahead and check the browser. So clicking on any navigation item dynamically changes the folder to an open state for the active item while keeping others closed. Alright, so everything works perfectly. Now, once we are done with the navigation items, now I'll take care of the social media icons. They should be placed at the bottom of the navbar. Let's go back to the VS Code. So right after this div element, I'm going to open another div. Let's add here classes. We need flex, then justify between. Next, I'm going to add here padding on the right side equal to 6. And then we need PB, padding bottom, equal to 2. Inside here, I'm going to open A element. And then inside the A element, we need icon with the classes BX, BXL, Instagram. Then we need text 2XL. And the color, text red, 600. I'm going to duplicate this link element 3 times, and then quickly change the class names of the icons. So for the second icon, we need here Twitter, then we'll have Facebook, and finally I'm going to add here YouTube. Now if we check the browser, we can see that the social media icons are perfectly placed at the bottom of the navbar. We have icons for different social media platforms, each styled with a vibrant red color that stands out nicely against the light background. With that, we've completed our navbar. It's fully functional, also it is responsive and visually appealing. Now that we have successfully built our navbar, it's time to move on to the next important part of our project, the home page. If we take a close look at the original project, you will notice that as soon as the project loads, the home page is displayed by default. This home page serves as the main dashboard, providing an overview of the different Apple product categories we'll be showcasing in our store. The home page is neatly divided into 4 distinct sections, each representing a specific product line from Apple: iPhones, MacBooks, watches, and iMacs. Each section features a bold heading to indicate the product category, along with a high-quality image that visually represents the products. This layout ensures that users get a clear and immediate view of the available product categories as soon as they land on the page. Now that we have finished building the navbar, let's move on to creating the home page, which serves as the main dashboard of our Apple product store. To start building the home page, the first step is to create a new React component. In the components folder, I'm going to create new file, home.jsx. Then inside here we need RAFCE to create new React component. Then go to the app.jsx file and import newly created home component. I'm going to duplicate this line of code, then change the name of the component. We need here home. Now just below the controls component inside the app.jsx file, we'll create a new development that will act as the wrapper for all 4 pages. We'll create a new div element that will act as the wrapper for all our pages. I'll add here new developments with the class name FlexGrow. And inside this wrapper, I'm going to nest home component. If we check the browser, we can see that the home page has ended up below the navbar. This happens because we haven't yet specified how these components should be positioned. To fix this, we need to place the navbar and the pages side by side horizontally. To achieve that, we'll modify the class name of our frame container. I'm going to add here flex. Now as you can see, the navbar and the home page are placed side by side. Next, let's go back to the home.jsx file and start creating the JSX structure for our home page. Before we do that, we need to access the data that we'll be using in this component. As you remember, in our project's src folder, we created data folder in which we have index.js file. In this file, we store all the necessary data for our project. And here we have an array called items. This items array contains all the data we need for our home page. Each object in this array represents one section of the home page. The label property holds the name of the product category. The image property provides the path to the corresponding image. And page index is an identifier that we'll use later for navigation between pages. Alright, so now we need to import this array in our home components. I'm going to add here import statement. Then we need items from data and index. Alright, next let's go ahead and create some JSX. I'm going to get rid of this text from here and then add some classes to the wrapper development. We need here width full. Then height is going to be full as well. Next we need to use grid layout, so we need grid followed by grid columns. Actually we need here columns 2, then grid rows 2. We'll have 2 columns and 2 rows. Next we need to create some gap equal to 4, and finally change the background color, use background gray 50. Inside here, I'm going to create new developments. Let's add to it some classes. So we need here flex layout, add flex, then change the direction of the flex layout. We need flex column. Then I'm going to use flex grow, followed by items, center. Then we need justify center. We center the contents. I mean the flex items. So we need justify center, and finally background is going to be white. As you can see, the first part of our homepage has white background. Let's go back and add some content here. We need span elements with the classes, text Excel. Then we need font bold. Next, I'm going to add some gradient effect to the text. For that, we have to use bg gradient to bottom. Then we need the colors from red 500 to yellow 300. Now, if we add here iPhones and check the results, you will notice that the background has the gradient effect and not the text. In order to fix that, we have to add here class bg clip text. And then we need text transparent. Now if we go to the browser, you will notice that we have here nice and cool gradient effect. Actually, let's check the colors. We are missing here dash. Okay, so now we have this nice and cool gradient. The color transition from red to yellow. Let's add here tracking white to make some space between the letters. Okay, after that I'm going to take care of the image. So right after the span element, I'm going to open image, and as the source, I'm going to insert here images. Then we need iPhone.jpg. Also, the value of the alt attribute is going to be iPhone. Then I'm going to add here some classes. We need max width, and it's going to be an arbitrary value, 65%. And then I'm going to define max height, which is going to be arbitrary value as well, and the value will be the same, 65%. And also we need objects contain. Besides that, I'm going to add here draggable attribute, and I'm going to make it false. So this attribute ensures that users cannot accidentally drag images out of the place, keeping the layout intact. Alright, let's go to the browser. So we have here an image, And actually, I think we need some space between the text and the image. So let's add to these pan elements margin bottom equal to, let's say, 12. Okay, so now we have the space between the text and the image. And actually, with the first part of the home page, we are done. Now, in order to display the other sections of the home page, we will use JavaScript's map function. We will use it to loop through the items array and generate each section dynamically. Before writing the map function, let me explain why we need it. Instead of manually writing JSX for each section, instead of duplicating this code, using map allows us to iterate through the array and create the necessary elements dynamically. The exact same thing we used in the Navbar. If we need to add more sections in the future, all we need to do is update the array, which we have in the index.js file, and the new items will be rendered automatically without modifying the component itself. So I'm going to add here curly braces, then we need items dot map. Let's use this code. Next, I'm going to cut this entire div element, paste it here. We need to add here key prop with the value index. Then instead of iPhones, we need item.label. This dynamically inserts the label from our array, so each section gets the correct heading. Next, we have to change the source of the image. Let's get rid of this value, and instead of that, we need item.image. Then I'm going to change the alts attribute as well. Let's add here item.label. So here we dynamically set the image source using the image property from the array. This property here. And then we provide an alt text for the image. All right, I think that's it. Let's go to the browser. As you can see, our homepage is now displaying all 4 product sections side by side, just as we intended. Each section is neatly arranged with its corresponding heading and image. All the sections are dynamically rendered based on the data from our items array. This means that every label and image you see on the screen is pulled directly from our data file, ensuring that our project remains flexible and easy to update. Now that we have completed the home page, it's time to move on and build the iPhone page. Let's take a quick look at the original project and go to the iPhone page. So the iPhone page displays different iPhone models, each with an image, a name, and a short description. The iPhone page displays different iPhone models, each with an image, a name, a short description, and a price, along with a buy button for each model. The layout is clean and modern, and that's exactly what we're going to replicate step by step. First, let's go ahead and create a new component in the components folder. It's going to be iPhone.jsx. Then inside here, as usual, we need to create a new React component using RAFCE shortcut. Then go back to the app.jsx file. Actually, I'm going to close those files. We no longer need them. So here I'm going to import iPhone, and then down below I'm going to comment this component out and then nest here iPhone. Since we don't have the navigation between the components yet, that's why I commented this component out to make this visible. Now let's go to the browser. So as you can see, we have here the iPhone component displayed. Now, let's go back to the VS Code, open iPhone.jsx file. Before jumping into the JSX creation, let's open our index.js file, where we store all the project data. We have an array iPhone models. This array contains the data for our iPhone models. Each object represents a single iPhone model and holds several properties like name for the model name, description for a short tagline, price for the starting price, and image which holds the path to the corresponding image. We'll use this data dynamically to populate our iPhone page, making it flexible and also easy to manage. Again, if we ever need to add or update the models, we'll simply modify this array without touching the component itself. Now let's go back to the iPhone.jsx file and import here this array. We need import iPhone models. We need this from data/index. Next, let's start creating the JSX structure. I'm going to write out all the JSX and then we'll walk through the important parts together. So let's get rid of this text from here, add some classes to the wrapper development. We need here width full, then height full. Next we need flex, followed by flex column. We're going to change the direction of the flex layout. Next we need item center and justify around. Also change the background color, it's going to be white, and create some padding using P8. Inside here I'm going to open H3 heading elements and I'm going to add here some classes. So we need 2XL, the breakpoint, and on this breakpoint text is going to be 4XL. It's for extra large screen sizes. Then we have XL and the text size is going to be 3XL. Next we need empty. The text is going to be 2XL. After that I'm going to change the font weights. It's going to be semi-bold. Next I'm going to add here color, text gray, 800. And finally we need margin at the bottom equal to 8. The content of the heading is going to be which iPhone is right for you. Okay, let's check the browser. Actually, nothing's happening here. So let's check quickly the code. Actually, here everything seems to be correct. Oh, we have here a typo. We need iPhone models. I think that was the problem. Alright, so here we have the heading, which is displayed prominently in the center of the page. Let's go back to the VS Code and right after heading, open developments, add here classes, we need flex, then justify between, and also I'm going to add here width full. Now, I'm going to display the iPhone models, and for that I'm going to use map method. Since we've already used the map method twice before in our project, once for the Navbar and once for the homepage, in this case I'll skip creating hard-coded JSX and will directly use the map method to render multiple items dynamically. This method helps us avoid repetitive code and makes our components much cleaner and scalable. So inside here I'm going to open curly braces, then we need iPhone models. Actually, let's use this code. Well, instead of model, I'm going to insert here iPhone. Then we need here parentheses. Now, we are using iPhone models.map to loop through each item in the iPhone models array. For every iteration, it gives us access to the current iPhone object and its index. Inside the loop, we have to return a div that represents one iPhone card. So as I said, we need here div elements. Actually, the copilot suggests here some code. And let's go ahead and use this code. I'll modify if needed. So we have here key, index, then class name, flex, column, item center. Then we need here justify between, not center. Next we have padding border. We don't need this. Let's get rid of it. And insert here gap y2. Okay, so that's it about the wrapper development. Next we have image. Source is right. We need iPhone.image. Then alt is going to be iPhone.name. It is correct. And here we have to change those classes. Let's get rid of all of them and add here 2XL Width is going to be 72. Then we need LG breakpoint. Width is going to be 64. Next we need SM breakpoint, and the width is going to be 48. Then I'm going to define the height. We need empty breakpoint. The height is going to be 64. And then we need SM breakpoint. Height is going to be 48. And also let's use here objects contain. Okay, so that's it about the image. Next we need to modify this heading. Actually, we don't need heading. I'm going to get rid of it and use link. So we need here some classes to Excel. Then we need text to Excel. Then we need Excel breakpoints, and the text is going to be Excel. Then we need LG. Text is going to be base. And finally we need, actually I missed here, dots. So here we need text SM. Then we need fonts, semi-bold, and text is going to be gray, 800. Finally we need here margin top equal to 4. Okay, as the contents we need to access iPhone.name. Alright, that's it about the name of the model. Next we have 2 paragraphs. I'm going to get rid of those paragraphs as well and create them from scratch. So we need here a paragraph with the classes toExcel. Then the text is going to be LG. Next I'm going to add here Excel breakpoint. Text is going to be base. Next we need LG breakpoint, text SM, and then we need text XS. I'm going to add here text gray 700, and then we need margin top 2. As the contents we need to add here iPhone dot description. Alright, so let's go to the browser and check the results. As you can see, we have here nicely aligned 3 different images with the names of the iPhone models. And also we have here the paragraphs which describe the iPhone models. Next we need to take here of the price. So right after this paragraph, I'm going to open span elements, add here classes. So we need toExcel, text base. Next we need Excel breakpoints, text SM. Next we need LG, and the text is going to be XS. Next we need to change the color of the text. We need text blue, 400, and then margin top 2. As for the contents, as you guessed, we need here iPhone.price. Let's check the price. So as you can see, they are displayed nicely. And finally, we need to add here the button. So let's go back to the VS Code, and right after span elements, I'm going to open button. Let's add here class, text SM. Then we need margin top 4, padding on x-axis, it's going to be 4. Then we need background blue, 400. Then we need text white, and I'm going to make the button rounded, full. And also let's add here type button. As for the content, let's add here by. Alright, let's go to the browser. So we have here buttons. Actually, we need padding on vertical axis as well. So let's add here py2. Okay, now they look pretty nice. Alright, so the complete iPhone page is now displayed with images, names, descriptions, prices, and buttons aligned perfectly, giving us a fully functional and visually appealing page for iPhone models. Now that we have successfully built the iPhone section, it's time to move on and implement the MacBook section. If we take a look at the original project and go to the MacBook page, the MacBook section allows users to choose between the two MacBook Air models, one powered by the M2 chip and the other by the M3 chip. Each model comes in multiple colors, has its own price, and features different specifications. The page provides buttons to switch between the two models, dynamically updates the displayed MacBook image, and allows users to select colors, changing the MacBook's appearance accordingly. It also displays the chip icon and key specifications. The challenge here is to make everything dynamic and interactive, ensuring that the page updates seamlessly based on the user's selections. Just like we did for the iPhone section, we first need to create a new component for the MacBook section as well. So let's go back to the VS Code and create new component. It's going to be MacBook.jsx. Then, as usual, we need here RAFCE shortcut to create a React component. Then go to the app.jsx file. I'm going to duplicate this line of code, change the name. We need here MacBook. And as we did for iPhone, I'm going to nest here MacBook section. The component, and we have to comment this component out. All right, let's go to the browser. So we have here MacBook component displayed. Next, I'm going to go back to the MacBook.jsx file. Before we add here some JSX, first we need to fetch the MacBook data from our index.js file. Let's open it. So here we have MacBook models array. This array contains two objects representing the MacBook models. Each object stores chip type, either M2 or M3. Then we have price, default MacBook image. Then we have an array of available colors, each with a label and corresponding image, a list of technical specifications, and the chip icon to be displayed. All right, let's go ahead and import this data in the MacBook.jsx file. We need here import statement. Then we have to specify here MacBook models from data index. All right, now that we have our data, let's create the structure of the MacBook component. First, I'm going to customize the main wrapper and then add the main heading. Let's get rid of this text from here, add classes to the main wrapper. So we need here flex layout. Then let's change the direction of the flex layout. We need flex column. Then we need items center. Also justify around. Next we need BG white. And finally padding 8. Inside here I'm going to open H1 heading elements. Then we need here classes 2XL. Text is going to be 4XL. Next we need XL breakpoint. Text is going to be 3XL. Next we need empty breakpoint. Text is going to be 2XL. Then font is going to be semi-bold. Actually, we need here dots. Then after that, I'm going to add here text gray 800. Then we need margin bottom 8. As for the contents, I'm going to add here choose your new MacBook Air. Let's check the browser. So again, we have here some problem. Let's go back to VS Code. Actually, we don't need here camel case. We need MacBook models. Let's check the name of the array. Now I think everything's correct. All right, so as you can see, we have here the heading placed at the top of the section. Next, I'm going to add buttons. These buttons. So let's open button elements with the class names 2XL. The width is going to be 36. Then we need empty breakpoints, and the width is going to be 26. Then we need width equal to 28. Next, we need to define the height. So I'm going to add here 2XL On that breakpoint, the height is going to be 18. Then we need MD breakpoints. The height is going to be 12. And finally, we need height 12. Next, let's add here flex, followed by the flex column. Then we need justify evenly to create even space between the flex items. Then we need item center, followed by border, and then we need to make the element rounded, actually on the left side, so we need LXL. As the contents, I'm going to add here span elements. Let's add to the span some classes. We need 2XL, text LG. Then we need XL breakpoint. On the breakpoint, text is going to be SM. Then we need text XS. Then font is going to be bold. Also, we need the color, text gray 800. And as the content, I'm going to add here width M2 chip. Let's check the browser. So here we have the first button. Actually, I think that the text is smaller. Let's check the class. So we have here a typo. We need text. Now the text is bigger. Let's compare the roundness of the button to the original one. Alright, so everything looks good. After that, we need another span element for the price. Let's add here classes 2XL. Text is going to be base. Then we need here another breakpoint XL. And the text is going to be SM. Next we need text XS. And the color is going to be text gray 600. As for the content, I'm going to add here from $999. Let's go to the browser. So here we have the price. Alright, next I'm going to create another button so we can duplicate this button and make some changes. We need M3 chip. The price will be different. I'm going to add here 1299. Next, I'm going to change the roundness. I mean, we need here rounded right XL. Alright, so I think that's it. Let's go to the browser. Actually, this button should be placed side by side horizontally. So I think we are missing the wrapper of the buttons. So I'm going to cut this code and add here div elements with the class flex, and then paste here the buttons. Now the problem should be fixed. Now that we have the two buttons displayed on the page, they are currently hard-coded, meaning we have manually created them instead of dynamically generating them. This approach is not ideal because if we ever need to add a new MacBook model, we would have to manually update the JSX, which is inefficient and not scalable. To fix this, we will dynamically generate the buttons based on the data from our index.js file, specifically using the MacBook models array. This array contains important properties like chip, which tells us whether the MacBook has an M2 or M3 chip, and price, which displays the starting price for each model. So instead of manually adding each button, we can loop through the array and dynamically generate the buttons using JavaScript's map method. We have already used a couple of times this method, so let's go ahead and use it here as well. Inside the wrapper development, I'm going to add curly braces followed by MacBook models map MacBook index. Actually, we can insert here MB, the short version of MacBook. Then we need here parentheses. Next, I'm going to cut the button, add it here, and delete the second button at all. Now that the button is inside the map method, we need to modify its attributes to dynamically pull data from the MacBook models array. First, we need to add a unique key to the button element. So we need here key equal to index. Then we need to update the text inside the button to display the correct chip type and price dynamically. So instead of this hard-coded text, I'm going to get rid of m2 and insert here mb.chip. As for the price, I'm going to insert here mb.price. So at this point, if we check the browser, we will see that both buttons have been generated dynamically. Instead of manually creating them, they are now fetched from our data file. However, if we look closely, there is a small issue. Right now, both buttons have rounded corners only on the left side because we initially applied the rounded LXL class to them. We need to fix this so that the first button has rounded corners on the left side and the second button has rounded corners on the right. Since map method gives us access to the index, we can conditionally apply different border radius styles. So I'm going to cut this class name from here, then get rid of quotes, open curly braces, then insert here backticks and paste back the class names. I'm going to get rid of this class from here, then add here $, curly braces, and here we have to pass the condition index equals to 0. If this is true, then we need rounded LXL, and if it is false, next we need rounded right XL. So again, if index is equal to 0, meaning it's the first button, then we apply rounded LXL. I mean rounded on the left side. Otherwise, we apply rounded RXL, rounded on the right side. Let's go to the browser. So as you can see, now the problem is fixed. We see that the first button has rounded left corners, while the second button has rounded right corners, perfectly aligning them together. Alright, so with this, we have successfully dynamically rendered our MacBook selection buttons, making them functional and visually correct. Now that we have generated buttons dynamically based on the MacBook model's data, the next step is to add selection functionality. Right now the buttons are static. When we click one, nothing happens. Our goal is to allow users to select a MacBook model, and when model is selected, it should have this blue border indicating that it is active. Alright, let's go back to the VS Code. So the first thing that we need to do is to create a state variable to track the selected MacBook model. So here I'm going to create variable which is going to be selected chip. Then we need set selected chip and useState hook. I'm going to get rid of React and import useState hook from React. So as the default value, I'm going to insert here 0. This is the state variable that stores the index of the currently selected button. Then we have set selected chip method. This function will be used to update the selected chip state. Now we have successfully set up state to track the active selection, but at this point clicking the button still does nothing because we haven't yet created a way to update the state. To allow users to change the selection, we need a function that updates the selected chip state when a button is clicked. So let's define a new function. It's going to be handle selected chip. So we need here index as the parameter, and inside the function we have to update selected chip, and the argument is going to be index. So this function takes an index as a parameter. Then we have set selected chip method. When this function is called, it updates the selected chip state with the index of the button that was clicked. This means that when we click the first button, selected chip becomes 0, and when we click the second button, selected chip becomes 1. Now we need to connect this function to our buttons so that clicking them updates the state. To trigger the selection change when a button is clicked, we need to add an onClick event handler to the button inside our map function. So I'm going to add here onClick event handler, and then we need to call this function with the argument index. Now when we click a button, The handle selected chip function runs and updates the selected chip state with the corresponding index. However, we are still missing the visual effect that highlights the selected button. To achieve this, we need to modify the class name once again. So here I'm going to add another conditional expression. Actually, as you can see, the Copilot suggests us this expression. Let's use it because it seems to be correct. So if index is equal to selected chip, then we need not PG but border 2 with the color blue 400. And if this condition is false, then we need border gray 800. Now let's go to the browser. As you can see, by default, the first button is active, and if I click the second button, then it will become active. Alright, so everything works perfectly. And next, we have to add the rest of the content to this section. So right after buttons, I mean the wrapper of the buttons, open div elements and add to it some classes. We need here flex, followed by flex column. Next we need 2XL, padding equal to 4, then empty items start, and then items center. Inside this div element, I'm going to open another one with the classes. We need width to be equal to 80. Next we need height equal to 64. Then 2XL, margin bottom 0, and then margin bottom 8. Inside here, I'm going to add image. Then the source is going to be images, MacBook, Air, Gold, M2, .jpg. Then, as the value of the alt attribute, I'm going to insert here MacBook. And next we need some classes. So I'm going to add here 2XL width equal to 72. Then we need XL. Width is going to be 52. And then we need width equal to 48. Next I'm going to add height full. I mean 100%. After that I'm going to define 2XL margin top 0. Then we need SM margin top equal to 6. Let's go to the browser. So here we have the image of the MacBook. Let's go back and add some more content. After image, I'm going to add span elements. Let's add classes. So we need here XL, text, SM. Then actually we need before that 2XL, text LG. Then XL text SM. Next we need font medium. Also, I'm going to define the color of the text. It's going to be gray 800. Then we need margin bottom 2. And then text center. As for the empty breakpoint, I'm going to add text left. So first we need text left, and then after empty breakpoint, I mean on smaller screen sizes, we need text center. As the contents of the span element, we need gold. So here we have text gold. After that, I'm going to add buttons. I mean these color buttons. So let's go ahead and open div elements and add some classes to the div elements. We need flex, then space x2. Next we need margin bottom 4. Then empty breakpoint, text left. Next we need justify center and empty justify start. Actually we need here space. So we need empty justify start. All right, that's it about the wrapper development. Next, we need button. Let's add to it classes. 2XL. Width is going to be 6. Then SM breakpoint, and the width is going to be 5. Next, we need 2XL. Height is going to be 6. As for the SM breakpoint, we need height to be 5. Besides that, we need here width 4 and also height 4 for smaller screen sizes. After that, we need background. Let's use here an arbitrary value. The color is going to be 2E3641. Next, I'm going to add here rounded full. Then we need border, and also I'm going to add here little hover effect. On hover, I'm going to change the color of the border. Let's make it blue. 500. So overall, we will have 3 buttons for the MacBooks, which has M2 chip. Let's duplicate this element twice. Then go to the browser. So we have here 3 buttons, and on hover, they change the border color. Alright, so as you see, all 3 buttons have the same background color. It happens because right now we have just hard-coded buttons, and we will change those backgrounds dynamically in a minute. Next, I'm going to add image right after those buttons. I mean the div element, which is the wrapper of the buttons. Let's add image. The source is going to be images/Apple M2 icon.jpg. Then we need alt attribute, it's going to be chip, and I'm going to add here class names. Width is going to be 12, then height is going to be 12 as well. Next, we need 2XL, margin bottom 4, and XL, margin bottom 2. Actually, the chip is not displaying. So I think that instead of JPG we need PNG. So let's check. Yeah, we need PNG. So let's change the extension. It's going to be PNG. Let's go back to the browser. So the M2 chip icon is rendered. Next, we need the specifications. I mean those specifications and the button. So let's go ahead and add them right after image. I'm going to open developments and add to it some classes. So first of all, we need here 2XL, margin bottom 4. Then we need XL, breakpoint, margin bottom 2. Then we need text center and MD, text left. So on smaller screen sizes, text will be centered. As for the relatively larger screens, we will have text left. Inside here, I'm going to open paragraph with the text 2XL, text LG. Let's add here some more classes. Next, we need XL breakpoint, text base. Then we need fonts, semi-bold, text gray, 800, and margin bottom 0.5. As for the content, let's add here 8 core CPU. I'm going to duplicate this line of code 3 times. Then go to the browser. So we have here specifications. Again, those specifications right now are hard-coded, but we will change it in a minute. After paragraphs, we need to create button with type button, and let's add here some classes. So we need here with minimum, then text SM. Next we need padding Y equal to 1, then padding X, it's going to be 3. Also we need background to be blue, 400. Then I'm going to make the button rounded, full. Text is going to be white. Then we need margin top equal to 4. it's for smaller screen sizes. Then we need empty breakpoint, margin top 0. As the content, we need by. Let's go to the browser. All right, so we have added all the content to our MacBook section. Everything is hard-coded. That means regardless of which MacBook chip we select, the displayed image, colors, and specifications remain the same. Our goal now is to make these elements dynamic so that selecting a MacBook model updates the corresponding content automatically. To start, we need to track which color option is currently selected for each MacBook model. For that, we will use state. So let's go back to the VS Code and define a state variable. We need here selected color. Then we need set selected color, use state hook, and the default value is going to be 0. So this state will store the index of the selected color for the currently active MacBook model. Since each MacBook model comes in multiple colors, we need a way to dynamically update the displayed image and label when the user selects a different color. By default, the first color, index 0, will be selected when the page loads. Now that we have state to track the selected chip and color, we need two helper variables to make our JSX cleaner and easier to work with. So let's go ahead and create this right below our state. The first variable is going to be current MacBook, MB. It should be equal to MacBook models selected chip. So this variable stores the currently selected MacBook model. We access it from the MacBook models array using the selected chip index. If selected chip is 0, it retrieves the first MacBook. If selected chip is 0, it retrieves the first MacBook, the MacBook with M2 chip. And if selected chip is 1, it retrieves the second MacBook with M3 chip. Next we need the second variable. It's going to be current color. It should be equal to this value here. Current MB, current MacBook.colors, and we need here selected color. So this variable stores the selected color of the active MacBook model. Since each MacBook has multiple color options, we access them through this value. If selected color is 0, it retrieves the first color of the selected MacBook, and if selected color is 1, it retrieves the second color, and so on. Now we need to replace the hard-coded image source with a dynamic one. So let's go ahead and find image. Instead of this source, we need here curly braces, current color dot image. It's correct. And then instead of alt attribute, I'm going to add here backticks. We need MacBook Air with. Then we need $, followed by curly braces, and we have to insert here current MB dot chip. So here we dynamically update the image based on the selected color. If the user selects silver, it loads the corresponding silver MacBook image. If they select space gray, it updates to the space gray version. This ensures that the image displayed matches the user selection in real time. We also updated the alt attribute. If the selected model is M2, the alt text will be MacBook Air with M2 chip, and if the selected model is M3, it will be MacBook Air with M3 chip. Let's go to the browser and click this button. As you see, the image is changing. Alright, so right now the color name displayed below the MacBook image is hard-coded. We need to update it dynamically based on the selected color. Let's go back to the VS Code. So instead of this hard-coded text here, we need current color dot label. Now let's go to the browser. If the user selects different MacBook, then the text will display midnight. And if they select this MacBook, then the text will be changed. Alright, now that we have successfully made our MacBook model selection dynamic, it's time to take care of the color selection. Right now, as you see, the color selection buttons are hard-coded, meaning no matter which model we select, the color buttons remain the same and don't affect the displayed MacBook image. Our goal here is to dynamically render the color buttons based on the available colors of the selected MacBook and allow users to click on them to update the displayed image. Just like we did for the MacBook selection buttons, we will use map method to iterate over the colors array of the selected MacBook. So let's go back to the VS Code, find color buttons. So inside here, I'm going to open curly braces. As you can see, the copilot suggests the map method, and actually it is correct. Let's make this shorter, make it call. I'm going to add here parentheses. So here, current mb.colors accesses the colors array of the currently selected MacBook model. Then we loop through this array, and now we have to create the button. I'm going to cut this button from here, and then I'm going to delete those two buttons. We no longer need them. As usual, we have to add here key prop with index. Next, we need to change the background color. As you know, each MacBook color option, this array here, the colors array, has a background color value stored in the BG property. We need to apply this color dynamically to each button. So I'm going to add here style attribute equal to background color, and here I'm going to add call.bg. So we apply here an inline style to dynamically set the background color of each button based on the colors BG property. At first glance, you might think we can use Tailwind's dynamic class approach like this. However, this won't work because Tailwind's utility classes are predefined during build time, meaning it does not recognize dynamically generated class values from JavaScript variables. One way to fix this would be to define a fixed array of Tailwind color classes and assign them manually to each color. However, that would limit flexibility. So in this particular case, using inline styles is a better solution because it allows us to directly apply any color dynamically without having to predefine classes. Now, let's go to the browser. So as you can see, each button is correctly colored based on the available MacBook colors. However, clicking them doesn't change the displayed MacBook image yet. So let's add functionality for that. Besides that, we don't need those gray borders by default. As you see, we don't have here the gray borders by default. Let's go back to the VS Code. I'm going to modify the class name of the button. First, I'm going to cut those classes. Then we need here curly braces with backticks. Let's paste back the classes and add here the following expression. We need $sign. Then we need the condition selected color equals to index. If this is true, then we need here border 2, then border blue 400. If this condition is false, then we need border transparent. So here, if the current color button matches the selected color state, we apply a blue border to indicate selection. Otherwise, we set the border to transparent, making it invisible. So let's go to the browser. So now the buttons are styled correctly, but they still don't update the image when clicked. Let's fix that by adding an onClick event handler. Let's go back to the VS Code and add here onClick event handler. So we need here set selected color with index argument. Let's use this code. So here we update the selected color state with the index of the clicked button, and this triggers a re-render, updating the MacBook image and color label dynamically. So here we update the selected color state with the index of the clicked button, and this triggers a re-render, updating the MacBook image and color label dynamically. Now, when you click a color button, the selected color gets a blue border. Okay, so everything works fine. Next, we need to update the chip icon, because when we select MacBook with M3 chip, we still have here M2 chip icon. Let's go back to the VS Code and find the image. So here we have it. I'm going to get rid of this source value and open curly braces. We need here current MB.icon. Also change the alt attribute. I'm going to open curly braces, then backticks. We need here Apple, then $, current MB dot chip followed by icon. Let's go to the browser, select the second MacBook. So as you can see, the icon is changing. We have here M3 chip, and now we have here M2 chip. Alright, so next we have to take care of the specifications, but before we do that, I'm going to do one more thing. If we select different colors and then select different MacBook and then select again this MacBook, the color will be still selected. So once we switch between the MacBooks, we have to reset the colors of the MacBooks. In order to do that, I'm going to add here set selected color updater function with the value 0. Let's go back to the VS Code. Now, if we switch between the MacBooks, then the color will be reset. Alright, so everything works perfectly. Now finally we have to take care of the specifications of the MacBooks. Right now they are hard-coded. We need to dynamically display the specs of the selected MacBook. First, let's go ahead and delete the hard-coded paragraphs. I'm going to delete 3 paragraphs. And then use map method. We need here current MB specs map. Actually, let's use this code. Then I'm going to cut the paragraph from here and insert it inside the map method. As usual, we need here key, and it's going to be index. And instead of this hard-coded text, I'm going to add here spec. Let's go to the browser. So as you can see, the specifications are displayed correctly. When you switch MacBook models, the specifications update automatically. Now that we have successfully completed the MacBook section, it's time to move on and take care of the watch section. If we take a look at the original project and go to the watch section, we can see that the watch section showcases different Apple Watch models, each with an image, name, price, and key features. The layout is similar to the MacBook section, but it has some unique characteristics. Each watch has 2 images displayed from different angles on hover, giving a better visual representation of the product. Now, let's go ahead and create new component in the components folder. It's going to be watch.jsx. Then inside here we need RAFCE shortcut to create a React component. Let's go to the app.jsx file and first import this component. I'm going to change the name of the component. It's going to be watch. Then we need to nest it here. Let's comment this component out and go to the browser. So as you can see, the watch component is rendered on the page. Now, let's go ahead and open watch.jsx file. Actually, I'm going to close those files. Before we start adding content inside watch.jsx file, let's first define the data we're going to use. As we did with the MacBook section, we have stored the watch models data in the index.js file. So as you can see, we have here an array called watch models. This array contains 3 objects, each representing a different Apple Watch model. Each object has the following properties: images, an array containing 2 image URLs showing the watch from different angles. Then we have name, the name of the Apple Watch model. Next we have price, the starting price of the watch, and finally description, an array of descriptive features listing key specifications such as case size and water resistance. Alright, let's go back to the watch.jsx file and import this array. We need here watch models from data/index. Alright, so now we can use this data inside our component. Let's start by adding the heading inside the watch component. But before that, I'm going to add some classes to do wrapper development. So we need here flex column, then item center, then we need justify around, followed by background white, then we need height to be full, and also I'm going to add padding. We need py 8 and px 4. Inside here I'm going to open h1 heading elements. Actually, I think that we need the same heading that we used in MacBook, so I'm going to copy this heading from here and add it here. As for the content, I'm going to add which Apple Watch is right for you. Let's go to the browser. So as you can see, the heading is placed in the center of the page. Now the section is still empty, but this confirms that our component is rendering correctly. Now I'm going to add the watch cards to the section. The card will be a vertical block containing an image of the watch, a heading with the model name, a price link, and a short description listing the key specifications. Let's go ahead and right after h1 heading element, open developments and add to it some classes. So we need here width full and flex, followed by justify around. Inside here I'm going to add another development. We need here width 60. Then we need height, which is going to be an arbitrary value. Let's add here 430 pixels. Then I'm going to add flexbox. We need flex column, then justify around, and also we need item start. Actually, item start is the default value, so I'm not going to use this class. Inside here, I'm going to add another development, and let's add here class names. So we need width full, then height is going to be 64, then we need margin bottom 4. Also we need overflow hidden. Then inside here I'm going to add image. As the source I'm going to use images watch 10 site.png. The alt is going to be watch, and also I'm going to add here classes. We need position absolute. Now we need position relative for the parent elements. Let's add here relative. Next, let's add here width full, height full, and then objects contain. Let's go to the browser. So we have here the image from the side angle. Next, we need to add other elements as well. Right after image, I'm going to open H3 heading elements. Let's add to it classes. We need here to Excel, text, Excel. Then I'm going to add Excel breakpoints, and the text is going to be LG, and then we need text SM. Besides that, I'm going to set font to semi-bold. Actually we need semi-bold. The content is going to be Apple Watch Series 10. Let's go to the browser. So as you can see, the heading ended up on top of the image. So I think that the heading should be outside of these developments. Now let's check the browser. Okay, so the problem is fixed. let's go ahead and add other elements here as well. I'm going to add link elements. Let's add to it classes. We need margin y 2. Then text is going to be base. Next we need text blue 400. As for the contents, it's going to be from 399. So here we have the price. After that, I'm going to add some specifications of the watch. I'm going to open div elements. Let's add to it some classes. We need here MD, text SM. Then we need text XS. The color is going to be gray, 700. And then we need margin Y2. Inside here, I'm going to open span element with the classes. Actually, we need here one class block. Then inside here, I'm going to insert 45 millimeters or 41 K size. Let's duplicate this span element twice, then go to the browser. So we have here the specifications. And the final thing that we need to add here is the button. So right after these developments, I'm going to open button. Let's add to it classes. We need here width minimum. Then text is going to be SM. Then we need margin top equal to 4. Padding Y, it's going to be 1. Then PX, we need 2. Let's change the background, make it blue, 400. Round it full. And also we need here text white. As the content, we need shop. Alright, let's go to the browser. So right now we have a single watch card displayed in the section with an image at the top, followed by the watch model name, pricing, and specifications. Everything is structured, but we are not done yet. Next, we need to add an interactive hover effect that will allow users to see the watch from different angles when they hover over the image. Apple showcases its products from multiple angles, so we'll replicate this effect. To do this, we need to duplicate the image inside our card and change its source to show the front view instead of the side view. So I'm going to duplicate image, then change the source. We need here watch 10. Let's go to the browser. The images are placed on top of each other because of the absolute position. Now we need to implement the hover effect to toggle between these two images. To achieve this, in Tailwind CSS, we will use the group utility. So here, I'm going to add class group. The group class allows us to apply styles to child elements when the parent is hovered over. Instead of adding hover directly to each image, we'll wrap them inside a parent div with the group class. Then we can apply hover effects selectively to each image inside it. Now we'll modify the first image, I mean the image with side view, so that it is fully visible by default but fades out when hovered. So I'm going to add here opacity 100, then group hover opacity 0, then we need transition and duration 300. In the same way, for the second image, which has front view, we'll make it invisible initially but visible on hover. So I'm going to grab these classes, add them here, change opacity to 0, and then we need here opacity 100. Alright, so let me explain what's going on here. So initially, the side view image is set to opacity 100, meaning it is fully visible. The front view image starts with opacity 0, making it invisible. When the user hovers over the parent group div, the group hover opacity 0 class is applied to the first image, making it disappear. Simultaneously, the group hover opacity 100 class is applied to the second image, making it appear. The transition duration 300 class ensures that the effect is smooth and takes 300 milliseconds. Let's go ahead and check the browser again. Once we hover, then we'll get this nice and cool effect. Now the image I mean the watch model, is visible from different angles. Right now we have successfully built a single watch card and implemented the hover effect, but at this moment it is hard-coded. Our next step is to render it dynamically so that we can display all available Apple Watch models using the data from our watch models array. Instead of manually duplicating the watch card 3 times, we will use JavaScript map method to loop through the array and generate the watch cards dynamically. We have already used the map method multiple times throughout the project to dynamically render various UI elements, and we'll do the same here. So inside here, I'm going to open curly braces and then insert watch models. We need map with a callback function and with 2 parameters, watch and index. Then inside here, we'll return a watch card for each item in the array. So let's cut our existing hard-coded developments. I mean this development here, paste it here. We need to add key prop with index. So right now, the images in our watch card are static. Since our watch models array contains multiple images for each watch, we need to update the src attributes dynamically. So instead of this value, we need here watch images 0. That's correct. Then I'm going to copy this value, paste it here. We need here 1. And also change the alt attributes. We need here watch.name. And again, watch.name. Let's go to the browser. Well, something's wrong here. Let's go back to the VS Code. Actually, the map method should be outside of these developments. Well, the entire content should be inside the map method. Let's check again the browser. Alright, so the problem is fixed. We have now 3 different cards with different images. Alright, next we need to replace the hard-coded watch name and price with the dynamic values from the watch models array. Let's go back to the VS Code. So I'm going to change the contents of the heading. We need here watch.name. And also we have to change the price. We need here watch.price. Let's go back to the browser. So as you can see, the names of the watch models are changed, and also we have here different prices. Next we have to take care of the specifications. Let's go back to the VS Code. Right now the specifications are manually written as separate span elements, but since each watch model has different specifications, we need to generate them dynamically. Each watch in our watch models array has a description property, which is an array containing multiple lines of specifications. To render this dynamically, we'll use again map method. Let's go back to the watch.jsx file. I'm going to get rid of 2 span elements. Then inside here we need to open curly braces. Then we need watch.desk.map. I'm going to add here parentheses. So let's change the parameters. We need here line and then use I instead of index. I'm going to grab span element from here and paste it here. Instead of this hard-coded text, I'm going to insert line. And also we need here key prop with the value I. Okay, so again, we are looping through the description array using map method, where a line represents each specification line. We use here key with the value I to provide a unique key to each span element. Let's go to the browser. Now each watch card correctly displays its corresponding specifications dynamically instead of relying on hard-coded values. The hover effect works fine, and actually we have successfully transformed our static watch card into a fully dynamic component, and with this section we are done. The only section we need to create is the iMac section. Before we start working on the iMac section, let's take a moment to revisit how it looks in the original project. Let's go to the iMac section. So the iMac section showcases multiple color variations of the iMac lineup. It consists of a large image display that presents different views of the selected iMac model, like side, front, and back, along with a selection area where users can choose their preferred color. When a user selects a different color option, the displayed iMac updates dynamically to match the selected model. Now, let's go ahead and create a new component in the components folder. It's going to be iMac.jsx. Then inside here, we need to create a new React component using RAFCE. Then go to the app.jsx file, import iMac section, the component. Let's change the name, we need here iMac. And then down below, I'm going to comment this component out. And right after watch component, we need to nest iMac. Let's go to the browser. So as you can see, the iMac component is rendered. So right now we just see the text iMac on the page, so it means that the iMac component is set up correctly. Now let's start adding the JSX for this section. Before adding content, we need to examine the data that will drive this section. All the necessary iMac details, including color variations and images, are stored in the index.js file. We have here iMac models array. Each object inside this array represents a different iMac color variation. Let's analyze the key properties. We have label. It represents the color name of the iMac. Then we have BG, which is the corresponding background color for this iMac model. Next we have images, an object containing 3 different views of the iMac, side, front, and back. Since each model has multiple images, we will later use a dynamic approach to update the displayed image when a different color is selected. Now that we understand the data structure, let's go ahead and import this array in the iMac.jsx file. We need here import, then iMac models, and we have to import it from data/index. Now that we have our data imported, let's start structuring the iMac section by adding some JSX. I'm going to get rid of this text from here. Let's add some classes to the wrapper div element. We need here hfull, then we need grid, followed by grid columns too. Next we need grid rows 2. Then we need empty breakpoints, and here I'm going to use gap with the value 4. After that I'm going to add gap 1 for smaller screen sizes. And finally we need BG white. Inside here I'm going to open another div element. Let's add here some classes. So we need hfull, height 100%. Then we need call span 1 and row span 2. It means that this element will take up 1 column and 2 rows. Next we need the flex layout, add flex, then flex column. Next we need item center. Next we need empty breakpoint, justify center. As for the smaller screen sizes, I'm going to use justify start. After that we need padding top, it's going to be 8. Then background gray 50. Actually that's it about this element. Inside here I'm going to open image. Let's define the source of the image. We need images folder. Then I'm going to select iMac folder, and inside here let's go ahead and select green side.jpg. As for the alt attribute, it's going to be iMac. Alright, after that I'm going to add here some class names. We need 2XL. Max width is going to be full. Then we need XL breakpoint, and max width is going to be 36. And after that we need max width equal to 24. All right, let's go to the browser. So right now we see here the iMac section layout with the default green iMac side view being displayed. At this stage, it's still a static image, but in the next steps, we will dynamically update the image when a user selects a different color. Let's go back to the VS Code and add here the content. Right after this closing div tag, I'm going to open another div. Let's add class name. So we need here bg gray 50, then call span 1, then row span 1. It means that the element will take up one column and one row. Next we need flex, followed by item center and justify center. And also let's use padding 4. Inside here I'm going to let's grab the image from here and paste it here. Actually we need here gray. So the source of the image is going to be green fronts. Then we need 2XL max width full, XL max width 52, and then we need LG max width equal to 48. Let's go to the browser. So we have here the second image. I'm in the front view of the iMac model. Let's go back to the VS Code and take care of the third image. So right after this development, we need again div with the classes bg gray 50. Actually, let's grab those classes from here. Then grab image, insert it here inside the development. So in this case, we need green back. As for the classes, they will be the same. So let's go ahead and check the browser. So as you can see, we have here iMac with the back view, and actually all three images of the iMac side, front, and back views are displayed in their respective positions. The side view spans the entire left column, while the front and back views are stacked on the right. Right now they are static and show only the green iMac model by default. Next we will make this section dynamic so that selecting a different color updates all three views accordingly. Alright, next we need to take care of the controls, which will allow us to select and display different colors of the iMac models. Let's go back to the VS Code. So right after this div element, I'm going to open another div. Let's add here classes. We need absolute. I'm in the position absolute, and we need position relative for the parent element, which is this div element here. So let's add the relative to the parent element. Actually, we need relative. Then down below, let's add empty breakpoint. Top position is going to be 50%. Then we will have top position equal to 3/4. Next, we need empty breakpoint with left position. It's going to be 4. And then we need left position with the value 12. Next, I'm going to use transform with the value minus translate with 50%. So when we use minus 50% and top position with the value 50%, it means that we center the element vertically. Next, I'm going to add here flex layout. We need flex, then flex column. Next, we need space y equal to 1. Actually, we need this for smaller screen sizes. Let's add here LG breakpoint and space y with the value 2. And finally, I'm going to add here background gray 50. Okay, now inside here, I'm going to open another div element and then add some classes. So we need here flex layout, flex followed by items center. Then we need space x2. Now inside here, I'm going to open button. Let's add to it classes. We need here 2XL. Width is going to be 8. Then we need empty breakpoint. The width is going to be 5. And next we need width with the value 4. Let's take care of the height. To Excel, height is going to be 8. Then we need empty. Height is going to be 5. Actually, this button will be a circle, so that's why we use here the same values for height and width. Next we need height equal to 4. Then we need rounded full, flex, followed by item center, and then we need justify center. Finally, let's add here background. Use here the arbitrary value. It's going to be 10505B. All right, let's go to the browser. So as you can see, we have here green circle. The button is displayed and it looks good. Next, we need the label for this button. Since this button won't have any content, we can make it self-closing element. So I'm going to add here slash and then get rid of this closing tag at all. All right, after button, we need span element for the label. Let's add to it a class name. It's going to be text SM. And the content will be green. All right, let's go to the browser. So as you can see, we have here a label, green, placed next to the button. Actually, I think that button is not positioned correctly. It overlaps the navbar. So let's go back to the VS Code and check the classes for the wrapper development. So we have here absolute. So position is 50%. Then we have 3, 4, left 4, 12. Actually, we need here Y because we are centering it vertically. So we are missing here Y axis. Now the position should be changed. Okay, so now the button is positioned correctly. All right, so again, we have here the color button with a corresponding label. Now that we've added the color selection area, I'm not going to display other colors just by duplicating this code. Instead of hard coding each button manually, we're going to generate them dynamically in just a moment. Rather than repeating the same structure multiple times, we will loop through our iMac color data and render the buttons automatically. Before we do that, I'm going to create the button. So right after this closing div tag, I'm going to open button. The type is going to be button. Then we need classes, text SM. Then we need margin top equal to 4. Next we need width equal to min content. Then we need padding Y equal to 1. PX, padding on the x-axis is going to be 2. Then we need PG, blue, 400, rounded full, and finally text white. As the contents of the button, I'm going to insert here shop. Alright, so here we have our button. It looks nice. Now, we need to make our content fully dynamic. Instead of manually adding each color, button, and label, we'll generate them dynamically using our iMac model data. Along with that, we need to add selection functionality so that clicking a button updates the displayed iMac model accordingly. To achieve this, let's start by creating two state variables. The first one is going to be selected color. Then we need set selected color function. Let's get rid of React and import EU statehood from here. As for the default value, it's going to be green. So this state variable will track the currently selected color. By default, it's set to green, meaning the green iMac model will be displayed initially. Whenever a user clicks on a different color button, we will update this state to reflect the chosen color. Next, we need to create the second state variable. So we need here visible label. Then we need set visible label, and the default value is going to be green. So this state holds the label of the currently selected color. It ensures that only one label is visible at a time rather than showing all labels simultaneously. As we implement the selection functionality, this label will update dynamically. Now that we have a way to track the selected color, we need a way to retrieve the corresponding iMac model data from our iMac models array. To do that, let's define the following function. Right after the state variable, I'm going to create new function. It's going to be get current model. Then I'm going to return here iMac models. Let's use this code. We need to modify it slightly. So we need here find method with a callback function. The parameter is going to be model. Then we need model.label followed by two lowercase function. It should be equal to selected color. So the find method loops through the iMac models array and searches for a model where the label converted to lowercase matches the selected color state. This ensures that whenever the selected color changes, for example from green to yellow, the corresponding iMac model is returned. With this function in place, we can now update the displayed iMac images dynamically. Now that we have a function to fetch the current model, we need to replace our hard-coded image sources with dynamic values. So instead of this source value, I'm going to open here curly braces, and we need here, as you see, get current model images.site. This ensures that the side view image always reflects the currently selected color. Now let's do the same for the other two images. I'm going to copy this value, paste it here. In this case, we need fronts. And then we need the same value, but with back. Let's check the browser. At first, the green iMac model is displayed just as expected. However, let's change the default state value of the selected color variable. Instead of green, let's insert here yellow. As you see, the images update automatically and the yellow iMac model is displayed instead. This confirms that our selection system is working correctly. Right now, we only have a one color button manually added. Instead of hard-coding all the colors, we need to map through the iMac models array and render them dynamically. To do that, again, we will use the map method. Let's go back to the VS Code and find the buttons. So here we have the buttons. Right before these developments, I'm going to open curly braces. Then we need here iMac models. Let's use this code. So we need here parentheses. So here the map method loops through the iMac models array and creates a color button for each model dynamically. This ensures that even if new colors are added to our data file in the future, they will automatically be displayed in the UI. Now let's go ahead and move the existing color button inside this map function. I'm going to cut this element at all and place it here. Then as usual, we need here key prop with the value index. So to display the correct background color for each button, we cannot use Tailwind's syntax. Instead, we need to use the style attribute. So right after here, I'm going to add style. Then we need background color with camel case equal to model.bg. So if you don't remember why we use here the style attribute, well, Tailwind CSS doesn't support dynamic values inside utility classes. If we tried here this dynamic class, Tailwind wouldn't recognize it because class names must be known at build time. The best solution here was to use inline styles for dynamic values like colors. Now, let's also update the label dynamically. Instead of hard-coded green, we need here model.label. Now let's check the browser. So actually, that's not what we want here. let's go back to the VS Code. Actually, this style attribute should be placed inside the button, not the wrapper development. Now let's check the browser. So all color buttons are displayed correctly along with their respective labels. Right now, all labels are visible at once. What we actually need is to show only the active label, and we'll take care of that in just a minute. Now, we need to make the iMac models fully interactive, ensuring that when a user clicks a color button, the corresponding iMac model updates dynamically to reflect the selected color. To achieve this, we need to update the selected color and visible label states whenever a button is clicked. Let's go ahead and modify our button element and add to it an on-click event handler. We need here a callback function, and as the Copilot suggests, we need here set selected color with the value model label to lowercase, and then we need set visible label with the argument model.label. Everything's correct. Actually, we are missing here something because the prettier shows us the error. So I think we need here an additional curly brace. Well, now everything's correct. So when a user clicks a button, the onClick function is triggered. Set selected color function updates the selected color state to match the color that was clicked. Since our getCurrentModel function relies on selected color, updating this state ensures that the iMac model changes accordingly. Set visible label function updates visible label, ensuring that the correct label is displayed next to the selected button. Now let's go to the browser. When clicking different color buttons, we can see that the iMac model updates instantly, displaying the correct version of the iMac in the selected color. This selection logic is working, but we still have some small improvements to make. We need to highlight the selected button and ensure that only the active label is displayed. To indicate which color is selected, we need to add a blue border around the active button. To do this, let's modify the button's class name dynamically. Let's go back to the VS Code. We need to cut the existing classes from here, then add here curly braces with backticks, paste back the class. Actually, we no longer need this background color here. Now we need to add here a conditional check to highlight the selected button. We need $, followed by curly braces. Then inside here, we need selected color equal to model label. Actually, let's use this expression. We need here model label to lowercase. As for the classes, we need here border 2. And instead of black, let's use blue. 500. Actually, we could use here the ternary operator, then this class followed by the second option, which would be the empty quotes. But I think we can leave it as it is. So this checks if the currently selected color matches the color of the button. If it is true, the button gets a blue border, making it visually distinct. And if it is false, it remains unstyled, ensuring that only the active button stands out. Let's go to the browser. So as you see, the active button has blue border and everything works perfectly. Alright, so right now, as I already said, all color labels are displayed at the same time, which is not ideal. Instead, we need to show only the label of the currently selected color. To achieve this, we'll use conditional rendering with the visible label state. So instead of displaying every label, we'll wrap our label inside a conditional check. So I'm going to cut this span element from here, then open curly braces and insert here visible label. And then let's use this suggestion. So we need here model label followed by the and operator, and we have here span. What we need here is the classes. So I'm going to paste our initial span element. Now I think everything's correct. So we check here whether the visible label matches the current module's label. If it is true, it renders the label, displaying it next to the active button. If it is false, nothing is rendered, keeping the UI clean. Now let's check the browser. So when selecting a color, only the active label is displayed, while all other labels remain hidden. Clicking a different button updates the visible label dynamically, providing a clean and polished user experience. With that, we have fully completed the iMac section, making it dynamic and interactive. Now users can select different iMac colors and the corresponding model updates instantly, along with proper button styling and label visibility. Now that we have successfully built our individual sections, home, iPhone, MacBook, watch, iMac, it's time to implement smooth transitions between them. To achieve this, we will create a page transition component that will wrap all sections and handle navigation animations. This will ensure that when users switch between sections, the transition will look sleek and professional. So let's go ahead and create new component in the components folder. It's going to be page transition.jsx. Inside here, we need to create a React component using RAFCE. Then I'm going to go to the app.jsx file and import this component. Let's duplicate this line of code and change the name of the component. We need page transition. Now that we have the page transition component imported, we need to wrap all our sections inside it. So down below, I'm going to remove those comments. Then here I'm going to nest page transition. And we need to wrap those sections with this component. Next, let's open page transition component and add the following JSX structure. So I'm going to get rid of this text from here and add classes to the wrapper development. So we need here width full, then height full, overflow hidden. Next, I'm going to add here style attribute to define the background image. So we need here background image. Then we need URL. And we have to select image from the images folder. Next, we need pages.bg.png. So we are searching for this image here. This one. All right. So after that, I'm going to insert here another div element and add to it some classes. We need position absolute. Then we need position relative for the parent element. We need here relative. Next to absolute position, I'm going to define width, make it full. Then we need height full. Then I'm going to add here transition, transform, and duration 300. Actually, not 300, but 500. All right. So this creates a full page wrapper for our sections. We've added a background image to ensure that when pages transition, the background remains visible. The inner div will later handle the sliding transition effect. Let's go to the browser. So at this stage, we can see that the background image is displayed. However, if we click the navigation items, you will see that the sections are not transitioning. So let's continue implementing the transition logic. Since page transition will be responsible for displaying the correct section, it needs to know which page is currently active. To do that, let's go back to the app.jsx file and modify the page transition component, like by adding the prop here. We need active page equal to active page. Now the page transition component receives the active page prop. Let's go back to the page transition component and then extract active page prop here. Besides that, I'm going to add here children. So the children prop is essential because it represents all the components inside page transition. In our case, these components are home, iPhone, MacBook, watch, and iMac. This allows page transition to dynamically render the correct page. I'm going to pass the children prop inside the div elements. Here we need children. Next, in order to manage page switching and animations, we need two essential state variables inside the page transition component. So the first state variable is going to be current page. Then we need here set current page. Then useStateHook, but without React. Let's import useStateHook here. So the default value here is going to be active page. So the current page state variable is responsible for storing which page is currently being displayed inside the transition wrapper. It ensures that when a user navigates between different sections, the correct page is rendered at any given time. Initially, current page is set to the value of active page, which is passed as a prop from app.jsx file. Whenever the active page changes due to a navigation event, such as clicking a Navbar item or selecting a section from the home page, current page will not update immediately. Instead, it will update only after the transition effect completes to avoid abrupt content changes. Next, we need another state variable, and it's going to be transitioning. Hopefully it is correct. Transitioning. Then we need set transitioning and useStateHook with the value false. It is correct. So the transitioning state variable is responsible for triggering the animation effect when a user switches between sections. It acts as a toggle to indicate whether the page is in the middle of transitioning. Initially, transitioning is set to false because the first page, the home page, is displayed without any animation. When a user selects a different section, transitioning will be set to true. Now that we have our state variables in place, we need to handle page switching logic dynamically using the useEffect hook. The goal here is to ensure that the new page loads only after the transition animation completes, preventing it from appearing abruptly. Without this logic, the content would switch instantly, breaking the smooth scrolling effect. So right after these state variables, I'm going to use useEffect hook. We need to import useEffect from React. So first, we need to check if the active page is different from the current page. This comparison will ensure that we only trigger the transition when the user selects a different section. Inside here, I'm going to insert if statements, and actually the compiled is suggesting the entire statement, and I think it's correct. We will check it step by step. So here, if both values are the same, it means the user is already on that section. So there is no need to trigger an animation. If the active page is different, the transition process begins. The first thing we do is set transitioning to true. This line of code. This will apply the CSS transform effect, moving the current page out of the view before switching to the new page. Next, we need to use setTimeout function to introduce a 500 millisecond delay, matching the duration of the animation. This delay will give the current page enough time to animate out before we replace it with the new one. So inside the setTimeout function, we have setCurrentPage with the value active page and setTransitioning with the value false. So those lines mean that once the timeout completes, we update current page to reflect the newly selected section, and when the transition is finished, we set transitioning back to false, allowing future animation to run smoothly when another navigation event occurs. Next, I'm going to add here dependency array, where we have to insert active page and then current page. So this part is crucial because it determines when the effect should run. In React, the dependency array tells the useEffect hook to watch for changes in specific values. Whenever any of the values inside this array change, the effect will rerun automatically. Here we are watching two variables. Active page represents the page the user has selected by clicking a navigation item. Current page represents the page currently being displayed. The effect is triggered only when active page or current page changes. This ensures that the transition logic is executed at the right time when the user selects a new section. If these values remain the same, the effect doesn't run, preventing unnecessary re-renders and keeping performance optimized. Now, let's make the inner div slide up and down during transitions. We need to modify the class of the inner div like this. So I'm going to cut those classes. Then we need here curly braces with backticks. Let's paste back the classes. And I'm going to add here $sign with curly braces. So we need here a conditional statement. Transitioning followed by a ternary operator. Then we need minus translate y full, and next we need translate y0. So if transitioning is true, the minus translate y full class moves the page out of the view. Once transitioning is false, the translate y0 class brings the new page into view smoothly. Now we need to display the correct page dynamically, so we need to add here current page. Current page determines which page to render. Now let's go to the browser and try clicking on different navigation items. So as you can see, we have here this nice and actually, what is that? Well, the transitions work fine, but we have some problems in the MacBook section, as I guessed. Okay, let's go back to the VS Code, open MacBook. Well, I doubt that we are missing here heights, and here it is. We need height full. Hopefully it will solve the problem. Well, now the section is kind of stretched. We don't see the part of the content. Okay, let's go back and try to find where do we have the issues. So what I see here is this typo. We need text. Let's go down. I think everything's correct here. Now let's try to find something here. I guess we need here minus margin bottom, as I remember correctly. Well, still nothing. So I think that I found the mistake. This development should wrap onto the image, not this entire content here. So I'm going to cut this closing development div tag and add it here. Let's check the browser. So here we go. Now I think everything's correct. Let's check again the rest of the code. Well, I think we need here minus margin top as well. Let's go back and check the rest of the code. So, well, we need here margin bottom 4. so many mistakes in this component, so my apologies. Okay, so I think the rest of the code is correct because the layout looks nice and all the elements are positioned correctly. All right, so let's get back to our navigation. As we click different navigation items, then we have this nice and cool transition effect. All right. At this point, the controls component has disappeared. This happened because it's not placed above the page transitions. To fix that, let's go ahead and open the controls component. Let's close this component and open controls. In order to fix that problem, we just need to add here the index property with value, let's say 10. So, as you can see, the controls are displayed back. Alright, so everything was fine. We implemented navigating between pages by clicking the nav items. Everything is working perfectly. And now we need to make clicking on iPhone, MacBook, Watch, and iMac sections navigate to their respective pages. Now, in order to implement the section navigation functionality, we need to make a few modifications to our code. First, we need to ensure that clicking on any section in the home component correctly updates the active page. To achieve this, let's go to the app.jsx file and pass a prop to the home component. We need here on navigate equal to handle nav click function. As you remember, we have here handle nav click function, which updates the active page according to the page index. So this prop will allow us to trigger navigation when clicking on sections inside the home component. Let's open the home component and extract the onNavigate prop inside the function parameters. So we need here onNavigate. This allows us to use the onNavigate function inside the home component. Next, we need to make each section clickable so that clicking on it navigates the user to the corresponding page. Inside the JSX, we will add an onClick event handler to the wrapper div of each section. So we need to add onClick event handler here, and we should pass here a callback function. And actually, as you see, the compiler suggests the code. What we need to change here is this index. Instead of that, we need item.page index. So again, here we call onNavigate function, which is actually handle navClick from app.jsx file. Item.page index is the index value associated with each section. This ensures that when we click on a section, the corresponding page index is passed to handle navClick, updating the active page state and triggering this smooth transition. Now let's go ahead and test it in the browser. If everything is set up correctly, clicking on any section should smoothly transition to the corresponding pages. So as you can see, everything works properly. Alright, so at this point we have successfully implemented smooth navigation functionality between the sections. The home page now serves as a dynamic menu, allowing users to navigate to different sections just by clicking on them. The transition effect ensures that the pages move smoothly, providing a seamless user experience. Now that we can navigate between sections, we need to implement the functionality for the X-Close button in the controls. Let's take a quick look at the original project and recall what this button does. So if we go to any of the sections and then click the X button, it will return the user to the home page. When the user is on the home page, the button appears inactive. It has lighter color, indicating that it's disabled. And also, if we hover over the icon, you will see here the cursor type not allowed. First, let's head over to the app.jsx file and create a new function called reset page. So the copilot suggests the entire function, and actually that's it, what we need. So let's use this code. So this function simply resets active page to 0, which corresponds to the home page. Whenever we call this function, it ensures that the user is navigated back to the home page. Now let's pass this function down to the controls component as a prop. We have here controls component, and we're going to pass here reset page, and it should be equal to reset page. Next, let's go ahead and open controls component and extract the reset page function here. We need reset page. Then we need to attach this function to the X button using the onClick event handler. So we have here the X button. We need onClick event handler. And here we need reset page. All right, let's go to the browser. So I'm going to go to any of the pages here, let's say MacBook. Then if we click X button, we will get back to the home page. So as you can see, it works properly. All right, now that the X button works, we need to adjust its styling dynamically to reflect whether it's active or inactive. Let's go to the app.jsx file and pass the active page state as a prop to controls. So we need here active page equal to active page. Then in controls.jsx file, I'm going to extract this prop. We need active page. Now we need to modify the class name of the X button dynamically based on whether we are on the home page or not. So I'm going to cut these classes. Then we need here curly braces with backticks. Let's paste back here the classes. So I'm going to get rid of this color at all. Then we need $sign with curly braces. And here we have to check if active page is equal to 0. If this is true, we need here text pink 200 and cursor not allowed. And if the condition is false, then we need text pink 400 and the cursor is going to be pointed. So if active page is equal to 0, meaning we are on the home page, the button gets lighter text color to make it look inactive, and also changes the cursor to indicate that the button is disabled. Otherwise, when we are on any other page, the button gets normal pink color to indicate it is active and changes the cursor to indicate it is clickable. Now let's check the browser to confirm that these styles are applied. So as you can see, by default, the X close button is inactive. We have here not allowed cursor type, and also the color is changed. Once we go to any of the sections, then it will be active, and clicking the X button will navigate us back to home page. Alright, so with these improvements, our navigation system is now fully functional, smooth and user-friendly. Alright, now that we have successfully built all the sections and implemented the necessary functionality, we can confidently say that the design and functionality of our project are complete. Everything is in place. The home, iPhone, MacBook, watch, and iMac sections are fully structured, smoothly navigable, and beautifully animated. The transitions work seamlessly, the navigation elements function properly, and all interactive components, such as buttons and section clicks, behave as expected. However, before we wrap things up, we need to ensure that the project is fully responsive across all screen sizes. While building the project, we have been consistently adding responsive breakpoints to ensure a smooth experience on different devices. We've used Tailwind's utility classes to handle responsiveness at various breakpoints, making the project adaptable. But despite this, there are still some final adjustments to make, one of the most important being adding a Hamburger menu for smaller screens. The first step in this process is thoroughly checking the project across multiple screen sizes To do this effectively, I'm going to inspect the page and switch to the responsive mode. I have prepared a list of the most commonly used resolutions for various devices, 6 different screen sizes for desktops to cover a range of large and extra-large monitors, 2 screen sizes for tablets ensuring proper scaling and usability, and 3 mobile screen sizes making sure that everything fits and functions correctly on smaller screens. So let's go ahead and start by testing the project on desktop screen sizes to see how well it adapts. Once I check everything here, I will proceed with adjustments for tablets and mobile devices, ensuring that the experience is smooth and consistent on all devices. So let's go ahead and check the home page on different desktop screens. So as you can see, the home page looks good. Let's go to the iPhone. So I think it looks good as well. Next we have MacBook. Let's check the smallest desktop screen. Well, still the problems with the MacBook section. Let's go to the VS Code and open again MacBook. So let me look at the results. Actually, we have some problems with image. So let's find the image. Here we have it. Let's add here object contain. Now we have better results. The only thing what I need here is margin auto to make it placed in the center. Okay, now the MacBook section looks good. Let's check another section, which is watch. So on smallest desktop screen size, it looks good. Let's check iMac. Alright, so we can say that the project looks and functions great on desktop screens. Everything is well structured, the navigation is smooth, and all elements scale properly across different resolutions. Now, we need to check how the project adapts to tablet screens to ensure that the design remains responsive and user-friendly on medium-sized devices. Let's go to the home page and select tablet. If we zoom out and go to other pages, so as you can see, we need to make here some changes. One of the key changes is disabling the zooming functionality entirely and hiding the zoom in icon, as zooming in and out might not be necessary or practical on these screen sizes. So to achieve this, we first need to create a new state variable in the app.jsx file. So here I'm going to create new state variable, and it's going to be is large screen, and I'm going to use the abbreviation LG, then screen. Let's use this suggestion. Actually, instead of false, we need to pass here window dot inner width greater than 1024 pixels. So this state variable is large screen. Will store whether the screen width is large enough, I mean 1024 pixels or more. The initial value is set using window.innerWidth, which retrieves the current width of the browser window when the component first renders. If the width is greater than or equal to 1024 pixels, meaning we are on a large screen, is large screen will be true. Otherwise, it will be false, indicating that we are on a smaller screen like a tablet or a mobile device. Now, we need to dynamically update is large screen whenever the window is resized. For this, we will use the useEffect hook. Let's go ahead and add the following code. We need useEffect. Then I'm going to import useEffect from React. So We need to detect window resizing and adjust our state accordingly so that zooming is disabled on smaller screens. Inside here, we need to create a new function. Actually, I think that Copilot suggests the correct code. Anyway, let's use it. And if it's not correct, I will adjust it. So we have here function handle resize. Inside this function, we need to check the screen width using window.innerWidth. If the screen width is 1024 pixels or more, is large screen will be set to true. So here what I'm going to do is to add equal sign. So inside the function, we check the screen width using window.innerWidth. If the screen width is 1020 pixels or more, is large screen will be set to true. If the screen width is less than 1024 pixels, meaning we are on a tablet or smaller screen, we need to call setFrameZoom function, ensuring that the frame remains fully expanded by default. So here we need if statements, then window.innerWidth is less than 1024 pixels, and here we have to call setFrameZoom function with the value true, not false. Next, we need to attach the handle resize function to the resize event on the window object. This means that whenever the window is resized, handle resize will run, updating our state dynamically. So that's why we have here window.addEventListener with resize event and with handle resize function call. Then in the return statement of useEffect, we need to remove the event listener when the component unmounts to prevent memory leaks. So that's why we have here window.removeEventListener. The event is resize, and we again call handle resize function. Let's add here dependency array and make it empty. Alright, so now that we have ensured the frame remains zoomed in on medium screens, we need to modify our toggle zoom function to prevent users from manually zooming in and out when they are on a tablet. So here we have the function toggle zoom, and inside here I'm going to add if is large screen. If this is true, then we have to put this line of code inside the if statement. Alright, so instead of always toggling the zoom state, we first check if the screen is large enough before allowing the user to zoom in or zoom out. This means that on tablets and smaller screens, clicking the zoom button will have no effect since the frame should remain fully expanded. Let's go to the browser. I'm going to change the screen size and then get back here tablet 1. So as you can see, the frame is fully expanded and users cannot zoom in or zoom out. However, the zoom in icon is still visible, which is unnecessary. To hide the zoom in button, we need to modify the controls component and add the following Tailwind class. Let's go to the controls components, find zoom in button, which is this one here. So I'm going to add here hidden and then LG block. So this class ensures that the zoom button is hidden on screens smaller than LG, which is 1024 pixels, but visible on larger screens. Let's go to the browser. So as you can see, we no longer have here the zoom in button. Let's increase the screen size. Well, now the buttons are placed vertically. Actually, we don't need here block, we need inline block. Let's go back to the browser. So now everything's correct. If we make the screen size smaller, then the zoom in button will be gone. All right, so let's go ahead and check other sections. I think that everything's look good. We have here the second tablet screen size. Let's check again all the sections and make sure that they look good. Alright, so with medium-sized screens fully optimized, both in terms of functionality and design, we can now shift our focus to smaller screens. particularly mobile devices. While we have been adding responsive breakpoints throughout the project, mobile screens have unique challenges that require additional adjustments. The main focus will be implementing a hamburger menu for better navigation and ensuring all elements fit well on smaller displays. Let's select Mobile 1. So as you can see, we have to make here the changes. Now we have to create the hamburger menu, which will allow users to toggle the navbar on and off on smaller screens. If we take a look at the original project, let's inspect the page. So this is mobile screen size. As you can see, we have here a menu icon. Once we click it, the navbar will display from the left side. Then the menu icon will transform into an X closing button. If we click it, then the navbar will be gone. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is hide the navbar by default and position it correctly for smaller screens. To achieve this, we will adjust the navbar components positioning. So let's go to the navbar components. Then we need here the wrapper div elements. I'm going to add here position absolute. And then we need MD breakpoint with position relative. So the absolute class ensures that the navbar is positioned independently on smaller screens, meaning it can move freely without affecting the rest of the layout. The MD breakpoint with relative class ensures that on medium-sized screens, I mean medium and up, the navbar behaves normally and is placed within the page structure. Now, if we check the browser, we'll notice that the navbar is positioned but ended up behind the home section. To fix this, we need to bring it forward using z-index property. So I'm going to add here z-index with the value, let's say 10. So now, as you can see, the navbar is visible on the screen. Next, we need to hide the navbar at all. To hide the navbar initially, we will move it off screen using the translate class. So we need to add here -translate x, and the value is going to be 110. So this moves the navbar completely to the left, effectively hiding it. If we check the browser, the navbar will be gone. Now that the navbar is hidden, we need to add a button that will toggle it open and closed. Let's go ahead and wrap the entire content with React fragments. Let's add here React fragments and paste back the code. We use React fragments because the button is going to be the sibling of the wrapper development, and if we don't wrap them with a React fragment or div, we will get an error. So right after these developments, I'm going to create button. Let's add to it some classes. We need fixed position, then MD hidden. It means that on larger screens the button will be hidden. Next we need bottom for left 4. Next I'm going to use padding 2. Also we need text for Excel, and the color of the text is going to be blue 400. Inside here I'm going to insert I element with the classes bx menu. Let's go to the browser. So right now the icon is not visible because we need here the index property. Let's set the index to, let's say, 30. So now the icon is visible. Alright, now we need to create a state variable in app.jsx file to control whether the navbar is open or closed. This will allow us to dynamically show or hide the navigation menu when the user interacts with the hamburger icon. So let's go ahead and create new state variable. It's going to be is navbar open. Then we need set is navbar open, and the default value is going to be false. So the is navbar open state variable serves as a Boolean flag that determines whether the navbar is currently visible or hidden. Here's how it works. When is navbar open is true, the navbar will be fully visible, allowing users to see and interact with navigation items. When is navbar open is false, the navbar will be hidden, keeping the UI clean and uncluttered, especially on smaller screens. Now let's create a function that will toggle the navbar's visibility allowing users to show or hide the navigation menu when they click the hamburger icon. So down below, I'm going to create a new function. It's going to be toggle Navbar. And inside here, we need set is Navbar open with the opposite value of is Navbar open. So everything's correct. This function reverses the current state of the navbar each time it is called. If the navbar is currently closed, calling toggle navbar will set is navbar open to true, making the navbar visible. If the navbar is currently open, calling toggle navbar will set is navbar open to false, hiding the navbar. This logic allows the user to seamlessly toggle between opening and closing the menu with each button click. Now, we need to pass these props to the navbar component. So here I'm going to pass is navbar open, and it should be equal to is navbar open. And then we need toggle navbar equal to toggle navbar. Then inside navbar.jsx file, we have to extract those props. We need here is navbar open and then toggle navbar. Let's make sure that this name is correct. Yep, toggle navbar. Now we need to modify the navbar's class name so that it slides in and out dynamically. So here we have the wrapper div elements class. I'm going to cut the entire class. Then we need here curly braces, then backticks, and paste back the classes. Now inside here, I'm going to get rid of this class at all. Then open curly braces and insert here is navbar open, followed by a ternary operator. And inside here, I'm going to pass translate x0. Then we need minus translate x110. And also we need here empty breakpoint with minus translate x0. All right. So here, if is navbar open is true, the navbar should be fully visible. And if is navbar open is false, the navbar should be hidden, except on medium-sized screens where it remains visible. Now we need to add an on-click event handler to the menu icon so that clicking it toggles the navbar. I'm going to find the menu icon and I'm going to add here on-click event handler. We need to insert here toggle navbar. Okay, let's go to the browser. So as you can see, by default, the navbar is hidden. If I click the menu icon, then the navbar will be displayed. And if I click again the menu icon, it will hide. Now we need to add a transition effect to make it look even better. So let's go ahead and modify the class name of the wrapper div elements. I'm going to add here transition, transform, and then we need duration. Let's make it 300. Go back to the browser, click the icon. Now we have this nice and cool, smooth transition. All right, next, to indicate whether the menu is open or closed, we need to change the menu icon dynamically based on the state of the navbar. Once we open the navbar, the icon should change and become X, and once we close the navbar, it should get its original form. We'll achieve this using conditional rendering, which allows us to display different elements depending on the value of is navbar open state variable. So let's go back to the VS Code. Let's find the menu icon. So here we have the I elements. I'm going to cut this out, then open curly braces, and we need here is navbar open. Actually, let's use this code. So we need here I elements with bxx and bx menu. Let's go ahead and use this code. I think it's correct. So if is navbar open is true, it means the navbar is currently visible, so we display X icon. And if is navbar open is false, meaning the navbar is hidden, we display the menu icon. Let's go to the browser. So by default, we have here menu icon. Once we click it, it will become an X icon. Then if we click, we'll get back here the menu icon. Alright, so the navbar is now fully functional, smoothly appearing and disappearing when toggled. By default, it remains hidden on smaller screens, ensuring a clean interface, and only becomes visible when the menu button is clicked. Additionally, we have successfully implemented dynamic behavior for the menu icon, switching between the standard menu icon and an X close button depending on the navbar state. Now that our navbar works, let's check different sections to ensure everything looks correct. So I'm going to go to the iPhone section. So on the iPhone section, let's hide one of the models, let's say the third one. I'm going to modify the code. Let's go to the iPhone section and find here the iPhone cards. So I'm going to cut these classes out and then add here curly braces with backticks. Let's paste back the classes. Next we need $sign with curly braces, and I'm going to insert here the following condition: index is equal to 2. If it is true, we need here hidden and then empty breakpoint with flags. If this is false, then we need empty quotes. Let's go to the browser. So now, as you can see, we have here 2 iPhone models. If we increase the size of the screen, then we'll get here 3 iPhones. All right, so everything works fine. Let's check other sections. Let's go to MacBook section. Here everything looks good. Then we have watches. So I think we can hide one watch model here as well. Let's go ahead and open watch.jsx file, find the watch card. I mean this element here. I'm going to cut the classes. We're going to use the same technique. Open curly braces with backticks, paste back the class. And here I'm going to, actually let's grab this from here and paste it here. Let's go back to the browser. So now we have 2 watches. All right, let's check the iMac section. So here everything looks good. All right, now we need to check the project on different mobile screen sizes. We have here mobile 2 and mobile 3. Let's check mobile 3, which is the smallest screen size. So the home page is good, iMac was good. Let's go to the iPhone section. It is good as well. Next we have MacBook. Everything's good. And finally we have watches. And everything's good here as well. Alright, so I think that's it. Our Apple products website is fully built and working exactly as intended. We started from scratch, designing and developing each section step by step from the Navbar, homepage and product sections for iPhones, MacBooks, watches and iMacs to implementing smooth navigation with beautiful transition effects. We made sure the page switching experience feels seamless, added interactivity like selecting different product variations. Actually, I think we have here a little issue. Let's go to the iMac section. Well, I know what's the problem. I changed here the color from green to yellow. Let's set the value to green again. Now the problem should be fixed. Alright, so I was saying that finally we wrapped it up by ensuring that everything works across different screen sizes, making necessary adjustments along the way. I hope this project was both interesting and helpful for you. If you enjoyed this tutorial and learned something new, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. And of course, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Your feedback is always appreciated. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.